Chapter 1038. Mom waved her hand, and Han Fei blacked out. Han Fei didn't appear outside the Infinity Tower. He suddenly opened his eyes and found himself lying on the ground. Turning his head, Han Fei was surprised. Isn't this above the jellyfish circle? Could it be that I've been dreaming? Boom! Just at the moment Han Fei opened his eyes, the mist above his head trembled, making a roaring sound. There seemed to be frost falling from the sky, and a layer of cold mist drifted down. Han Fei's heart sank. Mom must have used some method to completely destroy the soul forbidden space and use the empty power there to strengthen the visualization garden and protect her. Han Fei rolled over, got up, and hurriedly jumped out, heading straight for the Infinity Tower. When Han Fei was halfway there, he saw a large group of people heading for the exit of the Sky Meditation Garden in a formidable array. Han Fei immediately slowed down and pretended to be a passerby, because he had already heard what they were discussing with his wind clairaudience. A young man said, "There must be a way to recover. It's impossible for a spiritual beast that has been raised for so many years to return to when it was born." Someone said gloomily, "There must be something wrong with the Sky Meditation Garden. The void is shaking. This has never happened before. We must urgently inform the people in our clan to leave as soon as possible." At this moment, someone suddenly saw Han Fei and couldn't help but be stunned. "Is Han Fei here?" As this person spoke, a group of people looked at Han Fei. However, no one cared. Someone snorted coldly. "Humph, let him go. Let's keep quiet." Han Fei thought to himself, "We're so close. Why keep quiet? I've already heard everything, okay? Besides, I ate your spiritual beasts. Come and bite me if you dare." Han Fei knew that they would probably suspect him and the Thug Academy, because this time, his main target was the people from the big families. It was not easy for ordinary people to raise a spiritual beast. Big families, aren't you rich and have resources? If you have the ability, keep piling up. When he passed by this group of people, some sneered, and some glared at him. Han Fei, on the other hand, walked casually with his hands behind his back, which made these people gnash their teeth. When he passed by these people, he couldn't help but wonder how long he had slept. Logically speaking, he should have played with for an entire day. Then, he stayed in the soul ocean for a long time. Forget it. The Sky Meditation Garden isn't a true holy land to begin with. I have to catch up with Little White and the others and go to the ideal palace together. More than 2 hours later, Han Fei came to the Infinity Tower, but he didn't see Luo Xiaobai and the others. This made Han Fei a little confused. Had Luo Xiaobai and the others already entered? Or was it not time yet? He couldn't sense anything in the Sky Meditation Garden, so he quietly summoned Little White and took the initiative to find it. After half a day, Han Fei finally found Luo Xiaobai in a place with a fountain sculpture. She was sitting by the pool, looking at the sculpture. Seeing Han Fei, Luo Xiaobai exclaimed in surprise, "Huh! What a coincidence, you're here too." Han Fei couldn't help but say, "What coincidence? I came looking for you." Luo Xiaobai's face slightly changed. "What happened? Could it be that you were the one who caused the void to vibrate?" Han Fei wanted to say yes, but no. This matter was actually not someone else's business, but his own. He couldn't tell Luo Xiaobai that his mother destroyed the soul forbidden space, could he? Besides, should he tell Luo Xiaobai and the others about the soul ocean? Since his mother said that there were many secrets in the soul ocean, and primitive spiritual beasts couldn't be eaten randomly. And if they ate other people's spiritual beasts, they must eat the spiritual beasts of the big families. When the few of them were already law enforcers or intermediate or high-level law enforcers and had a certain level of ability to protect themselves, there was no harm in telling them then. Han Fei smiled and said, "Yes and no. If I say that the Sky Meditation Garden is fake, would you believe me?" Luo Xiaobai's eyes flashed. "What do you mean?" Han Fei said, "You know, My soul power is very strong. So, after I entered here, I encountered some strange things. I saw those eyes. Luo Xiaobai suddenly stood up. You mean, the one you saw in the Star Bead's secret realm? Han Fei nodded. That I tried to attack me and pulled me into a strange sea. After I fought with it for 3,000 rounds, I don't know why, but the void started to shake. Han Fei had already begun to brag. Anyway, that Dharma I didn't seem to be a good thing, so he kept bragging. Luo Xiaobai, who had always known Han Fei, rolled her eyes. When Han Fei said that he fought with it for 3,000 rounds, she knew that Han Fei was bragging. However, this could also prove that Han Fei had indeed experienced something. Luo Xiaobai frowned and said, Is that the soul forbidden space? Han Fei shook his head. I'm not sure, but it doesn't look like it. Anyway, that space collapsed. I don't know why. Luo Xiaobai pointed to the sculpture of a fish jumping out of the water in the fountain and said, I have a guess. Just now, I was sitting here, trying to visualize this sculpture. But it turned out that this sculpture was not a visualization object. But at the moment when the void vibrated, this sculpture became a visualization object. Han Fei thought to himself, this is probably the power of strengthening the visualization garden that Mom said. Han Fei said, It doesn't matter. Didn't you find that the visualization objects here are actually very ordinary? Only a very small part is useful for hidden fissures. Most of them are dangling fissures. Luo Xiaobai nodded. Yes. The visualizations here were worse than those of the logistics division of the Scattered Stars Island. However, there are a lot of them and there are few conditions. They seem to exist for ordinary cultivators. With that said, Luo Xiaobai analyzed, according to what you said, the place you went should be the soul forbidden space. In the Sky Meditation Garden, except for the Visualization Garden and the Infinity Tower, there is no ocean at all. Besides, you also saw that pair of eyes, so it must be the soul forbidden space. Did you get any benefits? Han Fei shook his head. No benefits at all. Besides, I can now be sure that Wang Santi's guess is true. The Infinity Tower actually doesn't exist at all. Luo Xiaobai asked, What do you mean? Han Fei explained, because I didn't enter the Infinity Tower at all, and now the soul forbidden space has collapsed. Therefore, the only purpose of the Sky Meditation Garden is probably for ordinary people to cultivate. What Han Fei didn't say was that although he didn't enter it in reality, he had been there in his dream. Han Fei couldn't help asking, by the way, how many days are there before we gather under the Infinity Tower? Luo Xiaobai gave Han Fei a weird look. 7 days. Han Fei was taken aback. 7 days? Didn't this mean that he had been in the dream for so long, but only a short while had passed? Luo Xiaobai asked, Did you stay there for a long time? Han Fei nodded. There is no concept of time, so I can't be sure. Luo Xiaobai asked, Then what should we do now? Are you going to the Ideal Palace? Luo Xiaobai was a little surprised. Is Han Fei too lucky or something? The Sky Meditation Garden, which had been unsolvable for thousands of years, only took this short amount of time for him to destroy the third heaven. This holy land was no longer meaningful to Han Fei. Han Fei smiled. Of course. I don't think the Sky Meditation Garden is of any use to us anymore. So, I came to find you and let's go to the Ideal Palace together. Luo Xiaobai shook her head. Okay. According to the information, many people have died in the Ideal Palace, and many of them were heavenly talents. That's probably a place where they can fight. However, after many years of exploration, in fact, all the major families have some speculations about the Ideal Palace. Han Fei asked, Huh? Luo Xiaobai asked, Do you still remember the rules of the demonic forest channel? Han Fei immediately took a breath and said, You mean, realm suppression? Luo Xiaobai nodded. This is just the speculation of some explorer-level powerhouses. Because my father discovered one thing, that is, all the powerhouses who enter the Ideal Palace stay there for a very short time. Why do you think so? Han Fei's face changed slightly. Because their realm has been suppressed to the level of ordinary trial takers. Maybe they can fight many people alone, but after all, 2 fists are no match for 4 hands. Those who go to the ideal palace are generally not weak. They are afraid of dying, so they stay there for a very short time. Luo Xiaobai nodded and said, there have been many incidents of explorers in the ideal palace many years ago. Therefore, most of the major families speculate that there may be realm suppression there. Han Fei smiled and said, that's good. If there is realm suppression, then what are we afraid of? Luo Xiaobai curled her lips and said, first, you don't know what realm the realm suppression is. Second, we can't be sure if there is only realm suppression in the ideal palace. So, to be conservative, let's advance and retreat together. Since there is nothing we want in the Sky Meditation Garden, let's go to the ideal palace. Han Fei smiled and said, then I'll go to find someone else. Luo Xiaobai said, after you find someone, go to the Infinity Tower first. Han Fei wondered, why? Luo Xiaobai said, although you didn't enter the Forbidden Soul space from the Infinity Tower can't be meaningless. Otherwise, why is it still standing? I suspect that maybe this is the way to the Immortal Palace. Even if we want to go to the Ideal Palace, we shouldn't give up the Infinity Tower so easily. Han Fei couldn't help but click his tongue. Luo Xiaobai's thinking was really meticulous. The Infinity Tower did exist for a reason, which was to trap Yin. But he couldn't tell her about this. Since Luo Xiaobai wanted to go and have a look, he would go and have a look. Chapter 1039. Outside, in the Chu sect. A strong master was sitting on a high chair, looking at Chu Man who was kneeling on the ground, trembling. The man looked solemnly at Chu Man's nascent spiritual beast. You mean, something happened to the Sky Meditation Garden? When your spiritual beast had a problem, the sky shook. Chu Man said respectfully, yes, sect master. Not only me, but also the spiritual beasts of all the people with me have become nascent. Next to the middle-aged man, someone said, sect master, is there something wrong with the soul forbidden space? The middle-aged man glanced at the people below him. Go and investigate how many people's spiritual beasts have become nascent. This is too coincidental. Although there is no evidence that this has anything to do with the Thug Academy boys. However, we can't rule out that they have some extraordinary means. Someone wondered, sect master, is it related to the Soul Sea? The person in the middle shook his head. The Soul Sea has always been a legend. If the Thug Academy had this ability, we wouldn't have one. Besides, in the outside world, spiritual beasts can really die. Can't they die in the Soul Sea? After pondering for a moment, the middle-aged man looked at Chu Man, go to the treasure house and get some resources. Yes, sect master. Chu Man carefully retreated. And the middle-aged man narrowed his eyes slightly. Can someone really enter the Soul Sea? Or can someone control the spiritual beasts in the Soul Sea? In any case, it was certain that there was something wrong with the Sky Meditation Garden. But this was not the point. As long as no one found the way to the Immortal Palace, all the problems were minor. What they feared most was that someone found the way to the Immortal Palace. If that was the case, there might be another monster who couldn't be controlled at all. And there were a total of 3 such people in history. One died, while the other 2 were still alive. The Yi family. The ancestral patriarch came out in person and looked at Yi Yun. Are you sure it's only the Sky Meditation Garden that has a problem? Yi Yun nodded. I'm sure. Many people have met that Han Fei. And no one from the Thug Academy has ever appeared under the Infinity Tower. Yi Dongfei said, Ancestral Patriarch, I have a question. Take Han Fei for example, his father is Han Guanshu. Doesn't Han Guanshu know the way to the Immortal Palace? Had he already told Han Fei? Also, the Thug Patriarch had been to the Immortal Palace. Didn't he leave any message? Moreover, Ren Tianfen had reappeared. If that's the case, Why did those brats from the Thug Academy go to the Three Holy Lands? Old Ancestor Yi shook his head and said, with the existence of the Heavenly Tao some words can't be said. In a sense, the Heavenly Tao Dharma has helped us. If that group of people really enter the Immortal Palace, the structure of the entire Thousand-Star City may change. Yi Yun sighed, that's true. However, Ancestor, are we not going to do anything now? Old Ancestor Yi said, send someone to the Ideal Palace. There weren't so many coincidences in this world, but the spiritual beast of a disciple from an aristocratic family had returned to its newborn state. Either that or the boys from the Thug Academy had touched something and discovered something. However, no matter what, he had sent someone to watch over him. There was no need to avoid being discovered by them. If they go to the Ideal Palace, send someone in. No matter what, keep an eye on them. An old man pondered, what if they find a way to go to the central temple? Old Ancestor Yi was stunned. Then we don't have to worry about Han Guanshu and Ren Tianfen anymore. Balance also depends on what kind of situation it is in. 2 days later. Han Fei and the others came out of the Infinity Tower. Le Renquang said, I can't climb up. I didn't encounter anything. Except for some mural marks in the tower that can be visualized, there was nothing unusual. Zhang Xuanyu nodded. Me neither. Li Luoluo nodded. I think so. This is just a place for ordinary people to cultivate. The so-called soul forbidden space is probably a lie. Han Fei didn't tell Li Luoluo about this. Therefore, Li Luoluo simply thought that Han Fei and the others had enough strolling, so they were going to the Infinity Tower. Luo Xiaobai said, let's go. Let's go to the Ideal Palace, which is far more mysterious than the Sky Meditation Garden. When Han Fei and the others just left the Sky Meditation Garden, countless people glanced at them. Zhang Xuanyu spat and said, they are becoming more and more brazen now. He's just short of openly following behind us. Han Fei smiled. The more they care, the more guilty and scared they are. Luo Xiaobai said, as long as the balance is not broken, they won't really attack. Although the great clans are strong, they also have many scruples. Don't worry about it. Just as they were heading for the Ideal Palace, a piece of news spread. Someone from the Sun family said, let everyone prepare to enter the Ideal Palace. If you can kill him in the Ideal Palace, kill him on the spot. Someone from the Chu sect said, don't worry, as long as they are in the Ideal Palace, attack directly. Someone from the Li clan sent a message, let the geniuses in the Ideal Palace make a move. They must capture him. For a time, all the great families acted upon hearing the news. If you wanted to kill Han Fei and the others within the balance, the Ideal Palace was the best opportunity. Han Fei and the others were also discussing at this moment. Luo Xiaobai said, no matter what, after entering the Ideal Palace, if our realms are suppressed to law enforcers, we will directly break through to law enforcers. If his realm was suppressed to that of a hidden fisher, there was no need to worry. Going to the God's Memorial Tower to become a law enforcer is the same. Han Fei sneered. Already. This time, he was probably going to start a massacre. The Ideal Palace is the only place in the Three Holy Lands that can break the balance. Those people will definitely not let go of such a rare opportunity. Lu Renquang chuckled. They can't hurt me. Zhang Xuanyu licked his lips and said, I would like to spar with those so-called geniuses of the large races. If we are really suppressed in terms of cultivation level, there is no reason for us to lose. Luo Xiaobai said, you can't think that way. There are many heavenly talents. If you can do it, maybe others can too. Let's go in and take a look first. If there's a problem, survival first. Han Fei suddenly looked at Li Luoluo. Do you want to go back to school? If you go with us, I'm afraid it will be extremely dangerous. Li Luoluo sneered. Am I the kind of person who is afraid of danger? I also want to see what the Ideal Palace looks like. Han Fei smiled and said, then come with us. Han Fei and Luo Xiaobai looked at each other without speaking. If Li Luolua wanted to follow him, so be it. Free combat power, it would be a waste not to use it. Outside the ideal palace. Shrouded in fog, there was also a separate island here, almost the same as the layout of the Sky Meditation Garden, with only one entrance. At this moment, all the people on the island were powerhouses above the hidden fissure level. There were at least 100 law enforcers. At the moment when Han Fei and the others arrived, countless pairs of eyes fell on them. Zhang Xuanyu couldn't help but twitch the corner of his mouth. Good heavens, are these people all coming for us? Han Fei smiled and said, definitely. Either we don't enter the ideal palace, or they will follow us. Their attitude is very obvious. We can either admit defeat or take them head-on. Admit defeat? That was impossible. Han Fei leaped into the air, landed on the ground, and pointed at everyone. Since we're all here, let's make it clear. I'm going to enter the ideal palace. Want to fight? The Thug Academy will fight you to the end. Zhang Xuanyu chuckled. Life or death is up to fate. You're not afraid of death. Do you expect us to be afraid of death? Lu Renquang thought, I'm afraid of death. However, my brothers have all entered the ideal palace, so I can only risk my life to accompany them. However, some of these people were expressionless, and some even bluntly said, then go in. Someone sneered. You can choose your own path. Han Fei smiled disdainfully and walked straight to the entrance of the ideal palace without saying a word. The moment Han Fei stepped on the bridge, the countless people behind him suddenly stood up. Many people were thinking to themselves, just 5 people, how big of a heart do they have? How dare they challenge so many people? But Han Fei and the others thought differently. The same realm didn't mean anything, especially for body cultivators like Han Fei. If they were all ordinary hidden fissures, not to mention 10, it wouldn't be surprising for them to fight 100 of them. At the entrance, Han Fei said, after entering, don't separate. If you encounter a special situation, disguise yourself well. Zhang Xuanyu smiled and said, you don't have to remind me. If I can't beat them, I'll definitely run away. As Han Fei and the others walked into the fog, a teleportation array suddenly appeared under their feet. The moment he saw this teleportation array, Han Fei just wanted to speak, but before he could say anything, he had disappeared into the white fog. Swish! Han Fei appeared directly on an open space. He saw some people sitting cross-legged not far away, some lying on the ground, and some lying on the ground. Han Fei was just about to find Luo Xiaobai and the others, when he suddenly felt his vision blurred, and an irresistible desire to fall asleep appeared. Not good. My soul is going to leave my body. At that moment, Han Fei tried to resist it with his super strong soul power. However, he only persisted for less than 5 breaths before he sat down on the ground. Then, he conveniently laid down on the ground with his body spread out in a sprawling manner. When Han Fei woke up from a daze, he found that he seemed to be in the outside world. Here, there was a sky and an earth. Was this the floating island? It seemed that some people had just come in. At this moment, these people were eating. Han Fei's appearance immediately attracted the attention of the people who were eating at this table. At this moment, they all looked at him. When Han Fei saw the surrounding environment clearly, he found that this was a small open-air restaurant, a bit like a station. Luo Xiaobai and the others were all gone. As soon as Han Fei saw the teleportation array, he knew that it was not a directional teleportation. At that time, he wanted to remind them, but he didn't have time at all. He still remembered that before he fell asleep, he saw people lying on the ground in disorder, and then their souls seemed to be pulled out. Then he came here. At this moment, Han Fei's heart sank, and he immediately pinched himself. Chapter 1040. Han Fei's first thought was that his soul had left his body. And the world he saw now was not real. He had experienced all kinds of strange phenomena. Han Fei, who had even experienced the river of time and Yin Er's ghost, was very receptive to it. Before falling asleep, When Han Fei felt that his soul was about to leave his body, he guessed that this might be a soul world. But now it seemed that something was wrong. His body seemed to still be there. He remembered that the demon purification pot and Forge the Universe were still there. With a thought from Han Fei, the blood-drinking knife appeared in his hand. He tried it, but it didn't work. It seemed that this space, like the sky meditation garden, blocked perception. However, Han Fei found that he was now in the state of a peak-level hidden fissure. Suddenly, Han Fei even breathed a sigh of relief. A peak-level hidden fissure, this could be regarded as the strongest realm among all his realms. He was really lucky. Who could beat him in this realm? Now, what he urgently needed to know was what the rules of this space were like. Because memories couldn't be taken out, he had to explore everything outside after he came in. At this moment, those people who were eating couldn't help but grab a drawing in their hands. Han Fei. Han Fei immediately nodded and smiled. Oh. Do you know me? What's that drawing? Let me see. Han Fei saw that there were only 7 or 8 people here, and they were all hidden fissures. What's there to be afraid of? When have I ever been afraid of hidden fissures? Those people's eyes flashed. Han Fei, this is the world of souls. You can't kill us. Han Fei drew his knife. The draw technique shot out like a rainbow, and his figure instantly disappeared. Are you kidding me? What the hell? I pinched myself and it hurt. How dare you talk to me about the world of souls? As soon as the other party saw Han Fei take action, they also took action without hesitation. Immediately, they erupted at the same time, and their secret method soared, doubling their strength. However, Han Fei was a body cultivator. Although his strength was suppressed a lot due to his realm. But at this moment, Han Fei also had more than 2 waves of strength. How could he panic in the face of these hidden fissures? He didn't even use any secret methods. With a sweep of his knife, he cut one of them in half. But in the next moment, something shocking happened. Although this person's figure seemed to be spurting blood, after he was cut in half, his body still turned illusory and finally disappeared. Was it really the divine soul world? Not a physical body. Suddenly, Han Fei keenly discovered that a cluster of gray mist floated and did not disperse the moment the man was killed. Han Fei grabbed it in his hand. Scanning with his spiritual power, he found that it was a storage space similar to a sea-swallowing seashell, and there were 3 fruits inside. Bang bang bang. Golden light raged and knife light bloomed. In a moment, 7 people had been killed by Han Fei. There was one more who was quite talented. After using the secret technique, his strength would probably reach 4 waves. In close combat, the advantages of the desolate god body and the 64-dimensional fish dragon dance were fully demonstrated. The fist imprints rained down and sent the man flying. As for the straw hut that looked like a relay station, it had long since collapsed. Just as the man was about to escape, he found that he couldn't move his body. Not only could he not move his body, even his soul was restricted. At this moment, he was horrified. How could this be? How could his divine soul be controlled? Han Fei put away the blood-drinking knife, sneered, and read the man's soul. Do you think I can't do anything in the divine soul world? It's just like the immortal seal. As long as your soul is locked, will it also be bound by this space? In his mind, pictures appeared in Han Fei's eyes. Knives and swords flashed, tangled battles, looting, and scrambling were endless. Is there a secret realm here? Why are they robbing the creatures and spiritual fruits here? From this man's mind, Han Fei saw a spiritual orchard, a battlefield of fighting, and a secret realm full of knives and swords. He also found that they were fighting for spiritual fruits. Why? Han Fei couldn't help but look at the fruit plates that were knocked over by those people. From those fruits, Han Fei took out one, and in his eyes, information appeared, name low-level soul fruit, introduction a strange fruit that grows in the void soul realm. Eating it can enhance spiritual power. Level low-level quality regular effect low-level soul fruit is helpful for soul cultivation, but the effect is not much. Han Fei was shocked. A fruit that can directly increase soul power. No wonder there were so many pictures of eating in this man's soul memory, but Han Fei slashed out and killed this person. He wanted to see if he could absorb soul power. If he could, it meant that after being controlled by the void lines, this person couldn't be taken out of this space by the rules. If those people were right, those people who had just been defeated by him shouldn't be dead. If they wanted to kill people in this soul world, there should be other ways. When Han Fei felt that a trace of ownerless soul was taken back, although it couldn't break through his bottleneck, Han Fei was overjoyed. It worked. At this moment, Han Fei was overjoyed. Since the void lines worked, it meant that he was one of the most dangerous people in this soul world. 8 people, a total of 21 low-level soul fruits. Yes, they were all low-level soul fruits. They were all low-level and obviously not worth much. Han Fei didn't care too much. However, this space was a bit interesting. He didn't know where it came from. Han Fei glanced around. It seemed to be a bit like an ordinary floating island. There were mountains in the distance, flowers and trees nearby, but no other creatures. The clouds in the sky were also slowly moving, and Han Fei could even feel a slightly cold breath. If this is the soul world, it's all too real, isn't it? It's just like a real scene. It's really rare. At this moment, when people came in, Han Fei confirmed that most of the speculations outside should be wrong. There was indeed a realm suppression here. However, you couldn't kill people here at any time. In other words, without the corresponding means to erase other people's souls, everyone was almost immortal here. No wonder the Palace of Philosophy was said to be the most mysterious holy land. Before, he was worried that a large number of people would come to kill them, but now it seemed that this worry was a lot less worrying. Of course, it couldn't be ruled out that someone had already figured out the means to destroy other people's souls here. However, relatively speaking, the safety here was much higher. As for why the explorers died here, he had to learn more about the Palace of Philosophy to find out. This was not right. Han Fei tried to listen with his ears and heard some human voices about 100 kilometers away. The clairaudience can also be used in this soul world. Han Fei couldn't help but be taken aback. Suddenly, he remembered something and reached out to take out the blood-drinking knife. He couldn't help but frown. If he was a soul, then what was the blood-drinking knife? A knife soul. When he used the blood-drinking knife just now, everything reacted as usual, which was the same as using a knife in reality. Han Fei narrowed his eyes and had a guess. With a thought in his mind, a big black axe appeared in his hand. At this moment, Han Fei was speechless. It wasn't that the blood-drinking knife was here, but that the blood-drinking knife he thought and imagined was here, so the blood-drinking knife was here. Han Fei compared it with the blood-drinking knife in his hand and couldn't figure out the grade of the knife in his hand at all. In other words, everything that could be imagined here was real. Han Fei immediately thought in his mind and a sea-swallowing seashell appeared. However, this sea-swallowing seashell was wrapped in a cloud of gray mist. So that's how it is. Interesting. It turns out that the storage space can be imagined out of thin air. Han Fei tried to imagine the scene of tens of thousands of soldiers coming out at the same time. However, this time, only one knife appeared. Yes, plus the blood-drinking knife and the axe in Han Fei's hand, only one knife appeared, and then nothing else. Interesting. I can only think of 3 weapons. According to common sense, they should be battle suits and weapons. As for why there were only 3, it was easy to understand. If it was a hunter, 2 daggers and a battle suit would be enough. However, what if it was an armorist? Armorists had a lot of weapons. Han Fei immediately took back a few weapons and tried to summon the weapons he had. In an instant, the battle suit, the blood-drinking knife, the golden seal, the dragon burial rod, and so on appeared one after another. Wow! I can summon all the weapons I have. What an amazing rule. Han Fei couldn't help but look at the house next door that had been flattened in the battle and tried to imagine it out of thin air. The next moment, his old house appeared in front of him. Awesome! The ideal palace can create and imagine everything. So, this is what it means. Han Fei immediately thought of something and wondered if he could think of Xia Xiaochan. However, nothing appeared this time. Han Fei couldn't help but laugh. That's right. If it could even create people, then this holy land would be a bit unbelievable. He tried again to see if he could summon the punishing knife in the sea-quelling painting. But this time, he didn't get what he wanted. Huh? Is it because the sea-quelling painting itself is an artifact? Han Fei thought of it and the sea-quelling painting appeared. But this sea-quelling painting was something he could think of. No matter how Han Fei called, none of the punishing knife and the others could come out. Forget it, I can't count on them. Putting aside his desire to explore, Han Fei ran straight to the place where the crowd was densely packed. Even if he started a killing spree, even if some escaped, these people would at most know that there was a danger in the ideal palace. But as for what danger? Ha! Some people would die in the ideal palace. It was just that more people had died now. Even if they knew it was done by the Thug Academy, so what? Anyway, those big clans were also here to hunt him, weren't they? However, they might not be able to do anything. Because the location of entering the ideal palace was random, which gave him enough advantages to destroy them one by one. After a moment, Han Fei came to a high ground and saw a crowd gathering place in the distance. It was like an arc-shaped business circle, with 3 to 5 houses standing there. There were about 100 people active in this small gathering place. Han Fei wondered, is the Thousand Faces technique still useful now? He wanted to get information about the ideal palace from these people. If he went there directly with his original body, he would probably start a war immediately, wouldn't he? With a thought from Han Fei, he suddenly changed into a passerby. Han Fei couldn't remember where he had seen this person before. Ha! So convenient. They can even change their identity. Do these people want to kill me? Isn't that just a pipe dream? Han Fei immediately tidied himself up, and with a thought, 2 daggers appeared in his hands. Only then did he openly walk towards the gathering place. He could even hear people talking about him. Someone was distressed. How can I find the people from the Thug Academy? After coming in, I remembered everything. This is the ideal palace. It's almost impossible to find someone here. There were also people who were sighing. Has the Thug Academy offended all the big clans in the Thousand Star City? This is already the 5th wave of people coming to find them. Someone said, don't interrupt. That's the business of the big clans and the Thug Academy. It's not something you and I can discuss. Someone was even hawking, soul fruit, anyone else wants it? I still have 18 low-level soul fruits and 1 mid-level soul fruit. If no one wants me to pack up my shop and leave, I'll leave. In another shop, someone was shouting, intelligence is for sale. Something big happened to the 7 soul realms. Is there really no one who wants to hear it? Han Fei frowned. There are people selling intelligence here. 7 soul realms? What the hell are they? And this voice seemed a bit familiar. Chapter 1041. Han Fei's appearance didn't attract anyone's attention. Only one person asked, brother, have you ever seen someone from the Thug Academy? Han Fei shook his head with a smile. I've heard of him, but I don't know him, nor have I seen him before. Hearing Han Fei's answer, the man immediately lost interest. He thought to himself, he's just a passerby. Don't worry about him. At this time, the shop owner who had just said he was going to leave said, brother, do you want to buy a soul fruit? Han Fei thought for a moment. What is used as currency in this divine soul world? Han Fei shook his head. No. The man was overjoyed. Hey, brother, it seems that you want to sell it. Han Fei shook his head again. No. The man in the other intelligence shop laughed. It seems that you are here to buy intelligence from me. Brother, I guarantee the latest intelligence. I only want an intermediate soul fruit. Do you need it? Ha, this voice, this tone, this style of speaking, Wang Santai. However, Wang Santai was also in disguise at the moment. This shouldn't be a secret for people who often visited the ideal palace. Han Fei was also a little surprised. Wang Santai seemed to be an early-stage hidden fisher. Why did he come to this place? He even opened a shop and started a business. Han Fei thought for a moment and walked towards the intelligence shop. Wang Santai was immediately overjoyed. Brother, come on, let's talk in private. Han Fei remained calm. Of course I have to talk in private. Otherwise, if others hear me, they will know I'm new here. Han Fei entered the shop, only to see Wang Santai setting up a soundproof array with a smile. Brother, my intelligence is very timely. Where do you want to hear it? From the chores of the divine soul world to the latest news of the 7 secret realms, and the secrets of the divine temple of creation, I have everything here. This is the price. Ha! Han Fei glanced at him stealthily. When he was in the sky meditation garden, Wang Santai looked like a soul warrior. From his pace and demeanor, it could be vaguely seen. Now it seemed that this person was also a spirit gatherer. To be able to cultivate to this level, this person was quite talented. Han Fei said calmly, in addition to soul fruits, what else can I pay for it? Wang Santai's face immediately stiffened. Is this your first time here? Damn! You were exposed just like that? Han Fei thought to himself, sure enough, I don't know anything about this ideal palace. He had only said one sentence before he was seen through. Han Fei smiled. This is my first time here. Can you tell me more about it? Wang Santai's expression changed immediately. Go, go, go. Do you have any money on you? You want to get information from me? Han Fei looked back. There were more than 100 people in this gathering place. He had killed all of them, but he didn't panic. So, Han Fei smiled and said, then I'll sell you a piece of intelligence. Do you dare to accept it? Wang Santai sneered, what kind of intelligence do I have that I wouldn't dare to accept? Besides, you just came in. What kind of information can you have? Han Fei smiled. Do you know who I am? Wang Santai sneered, I don't care who you are. There are so many people in the 1,000-star city that I can't even recognize. Tell me, let me see how much your information is worth. Han Fei continued, I'm Han Fei from the Thug Academy. Wang Santai, the disdainful look on Wang Santai's face froze, and he couldn't help but sweat. But then, he looked as calm as usual. What's wrong with the Thug Academy? Even if he was from the Thug Academy, this was the ideal palace. He couldn't kill him. Wang Santai was shocked. There are so many people looking for you outside. Aren't you afraid that I will leak your information? Han Fei said lightly, since you are so well informed, I don't need to tell you my name, do I? Just tell me if you want to. Wang Santai's face stiffened. How do I know you are Han Fei? If everyone comes over and says that they are Han Fei, wouldn't I suffer a great loss? Han Fei smiled and said, what? I gave you 200 caddies of spiritual spring in the sky meditation garden. Have you forgotten? Fuck. Wang Santai almost wanted to run away. Was he recognized just like that? Was his temperament so outstanding? Swallowing, Wang Santai looked at Han Fei with a resentful look. If I guess right, the abnormal movements in the sky meditation garden have something to do with you, right? As soon as you went there, there was a problem. There was a problem with the spiritual beasts of a lot of people from the big families. This caused all the big families to focus their attention on the sky meditation garden. I had to hide in the ideal palace. I think 200 caddies of spiritual spring is too little. Han Fei grinned. Now I'll give you a chance to quote a price. If you don't want to tell those people outside that I am Han Fei, then introduce me to the ideal palace. I'm talking about a comprehensive introduction. Wang Santai said leisurely, but you don't have money. Han Fei snorted and then looked outside. There is so much money outside. How can you say that I don't have money? Do I look like someone who doesn't have money? Huh? Wang Santai glanced out of the shop in confusion. I don't have money. Wait, what does Han Fei mean? Is he referring to those people outside? Wang Santai was speechless. Are you going to rob me? However, as quick-witted as Wang Santai was, he thought, this thug academy is really capable. It's said that only a few students have come, and the big families don't dare to make a move. Besides, above the Heavenly Sword sect, Han Fei killed Chu Quanren as a hidden fisher, which directly alarmed the entire Thousand-Star City. And in the Ideal Palace, the realm suppression was at the level of a hidden fisher. At this time, how many people could beat Han Fei? Wang Santai couldn't help but lick his lips. As the saying goes, fortune comes from risk. Judging from the last transaction, Han Fei should be a trustworthy person. Wang Santai immediately said, then I want all the belongings of these people outside. Han Fei laughed. How dare you ask for so much? That depends on whether the information you give me is worth it or not. I have to measure the value of this place first. Wang Santai immediately patted his chest and promised, don't worry. I, Wang Santai, have been in the Ideal Palace since I was a child. As for who is most familiar with the Ideal Palace, it must be me. I'm not bragging. Get to the point. Wang Santai stopped talking. Actually. In the Ideal Palace, there are only 4 kinds of things that can be traded. One is soul fruit, one is ownerless souls, one is soul crystals, and one is visualization fossils. In terms of order, the first 2 are the most common, but ownerless souls are generally not sold. They are all absorbed by people. Wait. Han Fei's eyes widened. Everyone can absorb ownerless souls. In Han Fei's opinion, it seemed that it was impossible to absorb ownerless souls without certain means. At least, his own method was to split his soul and devour ownerless souls. How was it possible that anyone could absorb it here? If so, there should be a lot of human soul-type powerhouses. Wang Santai smiled and said, don't worry. It's not possible in other places, but in the Ideal Palace, there's nothing that can't be done. You should know that we are in the form of divine souls. Do you think ownerless souls are easy to absorb? Han Fei's eyes flickered. You mean, eat them? Wang Santai said in surprise, wow. You guessed it right. Han Fei was a little dumbfounded. He had forgotten his current identity. Yes, he was now a soul. Then why couldn't a soul eat a soul? Wang Santai chuckled. It's just that ownerless souls are not easy to find now. Maybe I can find them again. Han Fei said, go on. Wang Santai was not in a hurry to ask for money, because as long as he stayed in the Ideal Palace for a long time, he would eventually know what he said. He continued, in addition to soul fruits and ownerless souls, soul crystals and visualization fossils are extremely rare. A soul crystal is worth as much as an intermediate soul fruit. And a visualization fossil is worth more than 1 to 10 advanced soul fruits. There's no upper limit. Where are they from? Wang Santai smiled and said, I have to talk about the 7 soul realms in the Ideal Palace. The news I'm going to tell you is amazing. Well. As Wang Santai spoke, he glanced out and chuckled. Han Fei said with a black face, tell me something valuable first. If you want the resources outside, you have to tell me what you say first. Wang Santai chuckled. Okay. The 7 soul realms, each more difficult and dangerous than the last. In any of the 7 soul realms, there's a risk of death. Ordinary people only know the first 4 soul realms, and the heavenly talents may know the 5th soul realm. But the last 2 soul realms are extremely rare. But who am I? I'm Wang Santai. I've been. Get to the point. Hey. The first 4 soul realms are the monster plant soul realm, the undead soul realm, the blue sea soul realm, and the prehistoric soul realm. They correspond to different challenges such as the monster plant soul realm, the undead soul realm, the blue sea soul realm, and the prehistoric soul realm. If you're not careful, you'll die. Shall we continue? Wang Santai looked outside and continued, the 5th soul realm is the war soul realm. I worked hard to exchange for this with information. Many people died when they went in. It's said that there are a large number of sea clan creatures and some special creatures in it, and there are constant wars. Han Fei frowned. It's said. Wang Santai smiled. It's only said. I haven't been in it, but the news is absolutely reliable. What about the 6th soul realm? Wang Santai opened his mouth several times. It's really valuable. Maybe all the people outside added up won't be enough to pay the bill. Han Fei turned around and strode out of the shop. With a flip of his hand, the blood-drinking knife appeared, and with a swish, he slashed out. Chapter 1042. As the saying went, take action when you should. There were about 100 people here, and there were probably no more than 10 people from the big clans. But it didn't matter. As long as these people had money, he wouldn't mind robbing them. The first target Han Fei aimed at was the person who had just come up to ask questions. A terrifying golden knife light pierced through the air and appeared next to the man. The man reacted quickly and instantly took out 3 large shields to block in front of him. However, only 3 cracking sounds could be heard, and that person was instantly cut in half. Suddenly, Han Fei heard Wang Santai's voice transmission, the money is in the grey mist. Wang Santai was afraid that Han Fei didn't know the storage rules here. If Han Fei chopped up all the soul fruits, there would only be some ownerless souls left, which would dissipate. Han Fei didn't care about the grey mist at all. Anyway, it wouldn't disappear. I'm fighting. How can I have time to collect things? When Han Fei suddenly launched a killing attack, 7 or 8 people suddenly shouted, "Who is it? You're courting death. It's your grandpa, Han Fei." Hula. The phantom glass wings spread out, and Han Fei's figure flickered crazily. As he flipped his hand, the law of gravity fell, and 5 people were immediately enveloped by it. Puff! 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 Before many people realized what was going on, 5 people had been chopped up. Besides, 3 of them were completely dead, and 2 of them were not completely dead. That was because the void lines couldn't keep up with his speed of killing enemies. Han Fei suddenly shouted, "Aren't the fish from the big clans looking for me? Now that I'm here, who can fight me?" Wang Santai was dumbfounded. Damn it! Although he was a soul, there was no difference between fighting and reality. How could he kill a kid with 1 slash? Many people swallowed. Was this the Han Fei that the big clans were looking for? This was crazy. He was so domineering that he didn't even look like a human being. Someone roared, "Damn it, go and inform." As soon as this person shouted, Han Fei had already flashed over. As soon as this person put down his armor, 1,000 knives came out at the same time. However, when the saber was halfway through its flight, he felt a shock in his mind. It was actually a life and death crisis. At that moment, he instantly understood that Han Fei also had a way to kill people in the ideal palace. But just as he was about to speak, he found that his voice was stuck in his throat, and he couldn't say anything. Puchi. A crazy slaughter took only 10 minutes. Except for 1 person who escaped, a total of 6 people were completely beheaded by Han Fei, and none of them could come back to life. Returning to the gathering place, some people didn't run away because they didn't offend Han Fei. Han Fei chuckled and went straight to the shop selling soul fruits. "Bro, lend me some money." That person. As if he understood what Han Fei meant, the man suddenly jumped up and activated his secret technique, detonating the 3 spherical weapons. However, Han Fei punched out and the entire shop collapsed in an instant. Puchi. With a single slash, the shopkeeper died. Han Fei said, "Sorry, I'll give it back to you if I see it again. Han Fei turned around. Sorry, guys, I need to borrow your soul fruits. Since you lent it to me, I won't be sending you out. Voila! For a moment, birds and beasts scattered. A large group of people fled in all directions. Are you kidding me? Stay and wait to be chopped up. For a long time, the inherent concept of immortal souls had made them feel that it was safe outside the 7 soul realms of the ideal palace. But they forgot that if the purpose of a strong master was just to rob, they couldn't resist at all. Under normal circumstances, a peerless heavenly talent wouldn't come to such a remote place to rob, okay? They wouldn't be able to put down their pride. Han Fei didn't chase them but said casually, okay, these things are all yours. Before Han Fei could put on his handsome pose, he saw Wang Santai had already stealthily taken away all the gray fog floating in the air. At this moment, he was rushing to his shop. As Han Fei fought fiercely, the surrounding shops all disappeared with a swish. These houses were originally visualized by people. At this moment, people were about to escape, and they didn't want these things to continue to exist, which would affect their creation of other things, so they were naturally collected. Just now, it was still a small bazaar-like place located together. In an instant, it became an empty space, and no one was there. Only Wang Santai was beaming with joy as he collected all the resources and made a huge profit. Han Fei casually threw over the low-level soul fruits that he had grabbed before. Okay, are these enough? Wang Santai took these soul fruits with a smile and thought to himself, sure enough, you can get more returns if you're brave enough. He was not afraid of those people from the big clans. Anyway, as long as he left the ideal palace, no one would remember what happened here, so naturally no one would come to trouble him. Wang Santai's appearance suddenly changed from a young man to a middle-aged man with a mustache. Han Fei said, go on. Wang Santai's face stiffened. Shall we change places? Han Fei wondered, is the ideal palace very small? Wang Santai said, it's not small, a little bigger than the Sky Meditation Garden. But if we don't leave, I'm afraid a lot of people will come. Do you think I'm afraid of them? Wang Santai smiled awkwardly. Of course you're not afraid. However, if you really want to kill them, it must be in the 7 soul realms. You can't kill anyone here. Han Fei thought, that's good. The hatred between the Thug Academy and these big clans is so deep that as long as there is a chance, no one will let go of the other. What Wang Santai said made sense. Even if he had the needless line, once the other party came, he wouldn't be able to kill them all. Han Fei nodded. Okay, let's change places. After a moment, Han Fei asked, what's the difference between the 7 soul realms and the outside? Why can I kill people in the 7 soul realms? Wang Santai chuckled. To be precise, only the first 5 soul realms can kill people, which should be due to the rules. The remaining 2 soul realms are full of crises. It's impossible for ordinary people to get news about those 2 soul realms. Han Fei nodded. Go on. What is the 6th soul realm you just mentioned? Wang Santai was a little hesitant. This secret book is really valuable. Seeing that Han Fei didn't look happy, Wang Santai immediately changed his words. But I, Wang Santai, am a man of my word. Since you paid me, I will tell you. The 6th soul realm was something I unintentionally heard about from a report. If I hadn't been in the ideal palace since I was a child, others wouldn't have. Han Fei said, get to the point. Wang Santai nodded. The 6th soul realm seems to be related to reincarnation. Only heavenly talents can enter. Most of the heavenly talents who enter die. Okay. Han Fei nodded, looked at Wang Santai, and raised his eyebrows. That's it? Wang Santai was also surprised. That's it. Isn't this exciting enough? Han Fei curled his lips. Reincarnation. It doesn't sound simple. This word can't be used to describe a place that's not simple. Han Fei asked, is there any other news? What is the divine temple of creation? Wang Santai yelled, the divine temple of creation is equivalent to the third heaven of the ideal palace. Not many people go there, but the conditions are extremely simple. Because there is only one palace there, and no one knows what this palace is used for. Therefore, everyone suspects that if you want to know the function of the divine temple of creation, you have to go through the 7 soul realms. But you also know that the 7 soul realms are more difficult and dangerous than the last. There are only a handful of people in each generation who can really go through the 7 soul realms. In the past 1,000 years, I'm afraid only 1,000 people have been known to do so. Only dragons and phoenixes have the ability to go through the 7 soul realms. Han Fei narrowed his eyes. 1,000 people, that's a lot. Have these people discovered the secret of the divine temple of creation? Wang Santai smiled and said, how can it be so simple? Just like the Sky Meditation Garden's forbidden soul space, it's not that no one has entered it over the years. However, there's no news about what benefits have been gained after going in. Maybe the big clans have blocked this news. But I think even if someone has gained benefits, it's extremely rare. Anyway, it's not something people like me can imagine. Han Fei couldn't help asking, is this divine temple of creation the same? No one has gained benefits from it. Wang Santai shrugged. Even if someone has gained benefits, they won't talk about it. Han Fei had a general understanding of the ideal palace. The 7 soul realms, plus a divine temple of creation, and these ordinary places that were not soul realms constituted the third heaven. Han Fei asked, where is the demonic plant soul realm? Wang Santai thought for a moment, and a fish skin map appeared, showing the locations of the 7 soul realms. Wang Santai said, well, this is the second time we've worked together. I, Wang Santai, am a good person, right? Han Fei was looking at the map and found that this map of the ideal palace, according to the distribution of the soul realms, was more like a half-moon or bow-shaped composition. The location of the divine temple of creation was like an arrow on this bow, at the head of the arrow. Han Fei casually responded, not bad. Wang Santai chuckled and said, well, actually, I think it's necessary to remind you of one more thing. It's just that the price. For now, I've already suffered a loss. Han Fei suddenly raised his head. You can wait for me outside the demonic plant soul realm. But it depends on how important the news you're going to tell me is. Okay. Wang Santai was waiting for this sentence, but he smiled. In the ideal palace, outside the 7 soul realms, there is an illusory stele. There are hundreds of names on it. From the ancient times to the present, anyone who can leave a ranking on it is a genius. Among them, I ranked the heavenly prides of the 1,000-star city in the past 30 years and made a ranking of the top 10 heavenly prides. Chu Quanren, who was killed by you, is ranked 7th. Han Fei's eyes were calm. Continue. Chapter 1043. Wang Santai saw that Han Fei was straightforward. The intelligence sale this time was enough for him to earn half a year's income. Besides, Han Fei had promised him more, so he wouldn't let it go. Wang Santai continued, I have a list here. I have their detailed information, including spiritual beasts, contractual spiritual beasts, and what they are good at. Han Fei pondered for a moment. Based on Chu Quanren's strength, it didn't seem to make much difference whether he bought it or not. However, Luo Xiaobai and the others might need it. So Han Fei nodded and said, okay, I'll buy it. How much is it? Don't ask for too much. Since they are all well-known figures, there should be a lot of people who know about them. Wang Santai smiled and said, no problem. It's very cheap, 100 low-level soul fruits or 10 soul crystals. For you, it's nothing more than killing a few people. It shouldn't be expensive, right? Han Fei pondered for a moment. This time, how many people did the big family send in? There must be at least 800 if not 1,000. It was impossible that they didn't have money on them. So Han Fei nodded. Okay. I'll buy it. But remember, don't give me a higher price than others. Otherwise, there won't be a next time. Wang Santai smiled obsequiously. Of course, of course. I, Wang Santai, am absolutely honest in business. Han Fei took the fish skin map, glanced at it, and suddenly exclaimed, these people are a bit strong. Glancing at the first one, Han Fei's eyelids twitched. First on the Heavenly Pride list. Name, Jiang Nanyu. Gender, male. Profession, soul warrior, armorist. Realm, unknown. Spiritual beast, a white whale. Contractual spiritual beasts, flying guillotine, dark moon wolf. Fish. Good weapon, snatch. Special features, strange spear. Soul technique, which is said to be able to kill soul. 7 souls list, 47 in the monster plant soul realm, 59 in the undying soul realm, 72 in the blue sea soul realm, 90 in the prehistoric soul realm, the rest unknown. Story, all 7 soul realms have been passed. Once challenged the top 10 powerhouses on the Heavenly Pride list, winning 8 and drawing 1. Tied with Glimmer, the 2nd and 5th on the Heavenly Pride list. Because he once fought against 2 opponents, he fought Sun Wu, the 4th, and Mo Fan, the 8th. Ranked 1st. Comments, from the Sea Cloud Tower, also known as the strongest rogue cultivator in the Thousand-Star City. In terms of combat power, the 7 great sects could be ranked 1st. Forthright, swift and decisive, but low-key. Han Fei squinted. What surprised him was that Jiang Nanyu was able to fight against 2 experts from the top 10 of the prodigy role at the same time. Thinking about it this way, this person was truly monstrous. However, just think about it. If he were to face 2 Chu Kuangren, without the power of the punishment saber, he would probably be beaten to a pulp. This was a pure difference in strength. It had little to do with the strength of one's combat skills and cultivation methods. Of course, if Han Fei were to reach the same level as Chu Kuangren, he was confident that he would be able to take on both of them at the same time. Thinking of this, Han Fei felt much more at ease. When Han Fei glanced at the 2nd place on the Heavenly Talent list, he couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. It was not just an accident. The 2nd person's name was Diwu Haiguang. This surname was very rare and was similar to Jiu Yinling's name. From the looks of it, he didn't seem to be a rogue cultivator. Apart from the surname, he actually came from the same place as Jiang Nanyu, the Sea Cloud Tower. Previously, when climbing the sky stairway, Han Fei and the others had discussed that the Sea Cloud Tower was the most low-key among the 7 major sections. So far, Han Fei hadn't sensed their existence. But now, 2 people came out from the Sea Cloud Tower. They seemed to be rogue cultivators, but they occupied the top 2 places of the top 10 Heavenly Talents list. Then, Han Fei looked down. The 8 people behind were all from aristocratic families. There were no more rogue cultivators. As for the 3rd place, Han Fei was stunned. Chu Qingyan. The Chu family. Han Fei did not think that the Heavenly Talent list would have any fake rankings. Chu Kuangren was only ranked 7th. The fact that he could be ranked 3rd showed that this Chu Qingyan was definitely extremely strong. The rest were the Sun family, the Yang family, the Mo family, the Qin family, the Zhang family. Luo Jiutian. Xiaobai's family. Han Fei had never heard of Luo Xiaobai having an elder brother. However, since he was ranked 6th on the Heavenly Talent list, he should not be weak. The corners of Han Fei's mouth curled up, and he smiled slightly. Very good, you and I are separated now. I have seen all these. Go wait outside the demonic plant soul realm. I have always been fair. You provide the information, and I am responsible for the robbery. The more information you give me in the future, the more benefits you will get. Wang Santai immediately beamed with joy. No problem, leave it to me. I have all the information you need. I grew up in the 3 Holy Lands since I was a child. While Wang Santai was still talking, Han Fei had already run away. Seeing Han Fei leave, Wang Santai did not panic at all. Thinking of something, he picked up a stick and walked directly to a gathering place. After a moment, Wang Santai looked quite flustered. He rushed into the gathering place and shouted, "Big news, big news. Is there any information? It's about the Thug Academy. Swish. Swish. All of a sudden, 5 or 6 people directly surrounded Wang Santai. Someone shouted coldly, "Speak." Someone's eyes were cold. "Where are the people of the Thug Academy?" Someone asked bluntly, "Who did you see?" Wang Santai hurriedly said, "I want to exchange information. This information is worth at least 5 soul crystals." Immediately, someone frowned. However, they exchanged glances. One of them threw a cloud of gray mist over. "There are 50 low-level soul fruits here. Tell us, we want this information." Wang Santai quickly put away the soul fruits and then smiled obsequiously. "Guys, I just met Han Fei from the Thug Academy. This person started a massacre. He threatened that since he couldn't kill the people of the big clans outside the Soul Realm, he would go into the Soul Realm. Now, he has gone to the demonic plant Soul Realm." Someone immediately looked delighted. "Are you sure you are talking about the demonic plant Soul Realm?" Wang Santai patted his chest and said, "Of course I am sure. I saw it with my own eyes. If you don't believe me, you can go to the demonic plant Soul Realm and you will know at a glance. Let me tell you, Han Fei is extremely powerful. Alas. Don't panic, he has just set off." After these people left, Wang Santai secretly smiled. "I've made a fortune again." He didn't care about revealing Han Fei's whereabouts at all. How could an ordinary hidden fisher defeat a character who had counterattacked and killed Chu Kuangren in reality? Now, the more people who went to find Han Fei, the more things Han Fei could grab. When the time came, he should be able to make another fortune outside the demonic plant Soul Realm. Wang Santai couldn't help but be smug. Is there anyone more courageous and shrewd than me? Han Fei didn't even bother to disguise himself along the way and directly appeared with his original appearance. He deliberately exposed his whereabouts. In this way, Luo Xiaobai and the others would know where he was. He knew that these people from the big clans dared to come to find him. Presumably, they had some means that could directly destroy the divine soul. Therefore, whether it was the outside world or the soul realm, it should not be safe for the people of the Thug Academy. Outside the demonic plant Soul Realm, someone was hawking low-level soul fruits. Anyone want to buy them? 12 for 1 soul crystal. Ownerless souls for high-level soul fruits. Interested parties come. Exchanging cultivation techniques. Those below the heaven level don't come. Heaven level ultra-quality combat skills and cultivation techniques can be exchanged. Soul crystals for high-level soul fruits in large quantities. No problem. No talking. Humans could do business in any corner of the world. Even if they were just souls, they couldn't change the nature of doing business. And behind these people, outside a deep forest, a stone tablet stood, on which 100 names were written, from top to bottom, for future generations to admire. Bam! Just when there was a commotion outside the demonic plant Soul Realm, someone was suddenly blasted away, and the golden fist mark rushed out for thousands of meters before stopping. A figure, glowing with golden light, holding a small golden seal in his hand, walked over from a distance step by step. Many people were dumbfounded. What was going on? Damn, is this the Han Fei that the big families are looking for? This person is crazy. He actually came here openly. Immediately, someone shouted, Han Fei, I didn't expect you to walk into the trap after all. Someone shouted in a low voice, don't talk nonsense, kill him. In an instant, the bustling market that had been bustling with activity just a moment ago was suddenly filled with people. More than 30 members of the big families gathered here. Looking at the weapons in these people's hands, Han Fei felt a little strange. They were all made of some bones. Could it be that these weapons can injure divine souls? Han Fei didn't care anymore and chuckled. Anyway, I'm going to kill you both inside and outside. Let me see what the so-called big families are capable of. Huh. The 9 mansions dragon seal burst out, a dragon roared, and the phantom of a small mountain smashed down. As for Han Fei, the phantom glass wings had been opened and he had flashed out. Seeing Han Fei rushing over, someone sneered. Soul sound combat technique. Ah. Chi. Huh. There were 5 or 6 people. Some opened their mouths, and some took out drumsticks. At the moment when the combat technique was activated, the harsh, terrifying sound wave hit Han Fei's soul directly. Han Fei sneered. I'm afraid you don't know how strong my soul is, do you? The soul sound roared at Han Fei like a tide, like a gale and a huge wave. Someone shouted again, Armorist, attack. Swish. Swish. Hum. Clatter. Thousands of soldiers roared, overwhelming the sky and the earth. If it were the old Han Fei, he would have hesitated whether to fight or not at the sight of this situation. But now, Han Fei wasn't afraid. Even though he saw that there were a few special bone-made weapons among the thousands of swords and blades. Han Fei turned his body, and with a thought, a drop of water flew into the thousands of soldiers. Explode. Rumble. Han Fei didn't know what level the infinity water he came up with out of thin air was. However, this didn't hinder the power of the infinity water. Not everyone could come up with weapons out of thin air, but the power of these weapons must be the same. Because of the different weapon structures, the infinity water that Han Fei exploded was equivalent to the power of a junior law enforcer. In the rolling explosion waves, Han Fei activated the devil change, activated the agility of wind 5 times, and his body flashed like a flash of light. Law of gravity. At that moment, a terrifying power directly descended, and at least a dozen people were suppressed by the law of gravity. How is it possible? How can you use your law enforcer ability in the ideal palace? Someone's face changed drastically and he shouted, Not good. Han Fei has 2 kinds of law enforcer abilities, and the battle bow technique. A soul warrior retreated quickly, holding a longbow in his hand, and shot out a burst of arrows. And Han Fei raised his knife and chopped 3 people in a row. If he wanted to be faster, he could do it. However, he didn't want to defeat these people. He wanted to kill them. Han Fei's soul shook, and the void lines split again, with his terrifying spiritual power of 9,999. The void lines turned into void lines all over the sky, directly buckling the others who were trapped in the law of gravity. Chapter 1044. As an ancient cultivation method, the power of the void fishing art was fully displayed at this moment. Because of Han Fei's terrifying spiritual power, the void lines directly locked up the remaining dozen people. Han Fei raised his knife and slashed at them, and all these people died in horror. Because others didn't know, only they knew that their souls were being controlled. Han Fei actually had such a terrifying soul attack method in the ideal palace. At this moment, the existence of manipulators hardly interfered with Han Fei. In his law of gravity, spiritual plants couldn't even stand up. The only ones who had means of attack were those soul warriors. As the children of the big clans, as peak-level hidden fishers, or even higher levels, Han Fei was not surprised that they had mastered soul attack methods. It was just that their current cultivation level limited their strength. Golden fist marks rumbled, and Han Fei rushed into the crowd again, like a tiger going down the mountain, shocking the world and unstoppable. Retreat. Retreat to the demonic plant soul realm. I exploded my bone weapons. Boom, 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 those were the bone weapons used by these people. Under the self-explosion, Han Fei felt a tingling pain all over his body, and his soul shook several times. In the end, only 9 people escaped into the demonic plant soul realm. 2 of them managed to avoid the void lines by accident. The others all died. This was what was really terrifying about Han Fei. Those who escaped and those who watched the show only thought that Han Fei had shattered the souls of these people and they would recover outside the ideal palace. But in fact, these people would never come back to life. If this was known by the descendants of the big clans, would they come to kill Han Fei again? Han Fei looked around, only to find that the bone weapons had all exploded. He couldn't help wondering what kind of weapon it was. Outside of the soul realm, it had such a strong destructive power. Even he was slightly injured. Fortunately, there weren't many of these weapons. Although they were a threat, they weren't enough to seriously injure him. Therefore, Han Fei didn't care too much. He just thought that this was the means of the big clans to dominate the ideal palace. In the distance, there were still people watching, full of surprise. Han Fei glanced at them, and these people's hearts tightened, and some even slipped away. Although they didn't think they would die, their things might be robbed. After all, those were things that they had painstakingly obtained. Who would be willing to be robbed? Han Fei curled his lips and smiled. Seeing that no one came over, he thought Zhang Xuanyu and the others probably hadn't figured out the situation of the ideal palace as quickly as he had, right? Since that was the case, he would go first. Given Zhang Xuanyu's shrewdness, they would definitely know how to disguise themselves and pretend to be someone else. Han Fei stepped into the gloomy, pitch-black forest. Yes, there was no one in the monster plant soul realm, just a forest. The gaps between the trees were like doors. He didn't know if it was because the trees were too dense, or if it was just the entrance, but it was impossible to see inside from the outside. When Han Fei stepped into the demon plant soul realm, he suddenly saw a cold light coming straight at his face. Whoosh! Han Fei's figure disappeared on the spot, leaving an afterimage that was shattered by a single blow. As soon as Han Fei appeared, another spear light fell on him. However, at this time, there seemed to be an old turtle lying under Han Fei, with 6 face armor on his body. He stepped out of the coiled turtle array and 6 spirit armor with 1 foot. When this spear pierced through the 2 defense arrays and fell on Han Fei grabbed this spear. Explode! Boom! Han Fei was blasted back dozens of meters. Ha! A master! Han Fei frowned. The attacker was very strong. In the same realm, the person who pierced through his 2 defense arrays with 1 spear and caused such great damage was definitely a heavenly talent. Ha! Feeling a sense of crisis, Han Fei's figure flashed, moved 100 meters horizontally, and 2 bone daggers appeared in his hands. Hunter! Woo! Suddenly, there was a melody in his ears. In front of Han Fei, there was boundless darkness. Illusion. Han Fei flashed out randomly, and then with a thought, the peppermint leaf appeared in his mouth. He opened the yin-yang divine eyes, only to see another spear light approaching him. Bam! Han Fei was stabbed and sent flying by the spear. His body rolled twice on the ground, and with a swish, he disappeared. When Han Fei reappeared, he was already in the air. He lowered his head and looked at the cut on his chest. He found that the spirit world could also simulate a cut on the flesh. Of course, Han Fei knew how strong his physique was at this time. At this moment, he was a body-refining powerhouse who had the desolate god body, the 3rd level of the indestructible body. Ordinary hidden fissures, even if he stood still and let them hit him, they might not be able to hurt him. Did they want to hurt him? They had to be divine weapons. But now, as soon as he entered, he suffered a round of attacks. The opponent's cooperation was exquisite, and their attacks were fast, accurate, and ruthless, which was beyond his expectations. Swish! A white light, almost in the blink of an eye, swept in front of him. Han Fei flipped his hand and pressed down the law of gravity. The white shadow suddenly sank and pounced on the ground, and Han Fei had already punched out a golden fist mark. Clang! Crack! A huge shield appeared in the air. Although the shield was broken, Han Fei saw the white shadow's body distort and disappear in his law of gravity. Han Fei couldn't help but laugh. Good move, the star teleportation technique of the Yi family. The 5 of you are very strong. Han Fei wasn't joking. These 5 people were really strong. As a team, it was actually extremely rare for them to be able to cooperate perfectly. This required a lot of time to train and advance and retreat together. For example, he, Luo Xiaobai, and the other four had a tacit understanding with each other since childhood. Most of the time, with just a look, everyone knew what to do. After Xia Shaochan left, no one could integrate into Han Fei's team. Not even Li Luoluo. She and Han Fei cooperated well, but when she was with Luo Xiaobai and the others, it was impossible for her to control their fighting rhythm and fighting style. At this moment, Han Fei encountered a very strong team of 5. How could he not be surprised? And these 5 people's faces were all dark at the moment. Isn't Han Fei a bit too strong? Whether it was his reaction or his way of breaking the formation, he was astonishingly fast. More importantly, this was the ideal palace. Although this place created his strongest state as a hidden fissure out of thin air, Han Fei's physique was too abnormal, wasn't it? The spear-wielding man pointed his spear at Han Fei. Your physique is indeed strong, but it was just a test. Han Fei sneered. I'm afraid you won't have a chance to make a move. Do you want to tell me your name now? Do you want me to remember you? As Han Fei spoke, he twisted his body, and 100 bone knives suddenly drilled out of the void. At the moment when Han Fei dodged, the opponent's manipulator took action. Han Fei grabbed a spider silk with one hand, and the blood-drinking knife in his hand flashed with a golden light, and a large number of bone knives were knocked away. He seemed to know that there was a spear light erupting behind him. This time, the opponent should have used a secret method and was even more dangerous than before. Han Fei turned around and launched a sacrificing punch, and the scarlet fist mark directly shattered the long spear in the opponent's hand. Pressing forward, he directly locked onto the opponent. In the previous battle, there was no such thing as energy and spiritual energy in this world. Energy and spiritual energy were just something he imagined out of thin air. With the help of the invincible heart and the sacrificing punch, who could stop him? At this moment, Han Fei suddenly had an idea and wanted to take half a step back. However, a bone knife behind him exploded, and his soul was shaken. At this moment, a dagger tried to cut Han Fei's neck. Han Fei twisted his body, but the spider silk took advantage of this and wrapped around his waist. At this moment of life and death, Han Fei didn't panic. He imagined a small seal in front of him out of thin air, and at the moment the small seal exploded, the law of gravity pressed down. At that moment, a bone knife dagger almost touched Han Fei's neck and fell on Han Fei's ribs. Puff! The bone knife drew sparks on the surface of his body, and Han Fei grabbed the woman with one hand and tied her up with the void lines. Not good. Soul-breaking spear. Han Fei didn't even look at it. He grabbed the woman's dagger with his left hand and slightly tilted his head, dodging the other dagger that the woman had just thrown at him. Pushing left and right, the Nine Mansions dragon seal shattered the long spear that was stabbing at him. It was Han Fei who was trapped, but like a bloodthirsty god of war, he strangled the woman's neck with one hand. The hunter who had been controlled by the void lines had already lost her soul. However, because everyone was too fast at this moment, the woman barely had her own consciousness. However, this consciousness could only be used to deal with Han Fei's control. Otherwise, she would have sent a voice transmission to the others to escape. At the moment when Han Fei almost strangled the woman's neck, a white shadow flashed by. Dozens of bone knives spiraled into a cone, wrapping the white shadow. Han Fei smiled slightly. I was waiting for you. Kacha. Puff. Han Fei slashed the woman and was hit by 3 bone knives. He turned around and used the void lines to cut down the Yi clan's disciple. He didn't know her anyway, so he just slashed her. As a result, a spear light flashed at Han Fei's neck, but Han Fei dodged it. No. Ching ching. Hu, old Yi. Han Fei flicked his wrist, and the blood-drinking knife cut the spider silk like a fluttering butterfly. Han Fei flashed out and stood in the air again. Han Fei's heart beat slightly faster. That was close. Sure enough, the perfect combination was really hard to deal with. He didn't know what kind of weapon the bone knife was. It didn't make sense that it could even cut his body. Han Fei reached out and touched the blood on his neck, saying lightly, "You're fast enough, but you don't know how to control your body. This is not something you can understand. As I said, the Yi family has nothing good except for their speed. How dare this guy try to save people from me? What does he want? I'm going to kill you." Han Fei saw a brawny man with bloodshot eyes controlling 100 bone knives to attack Han Fei. The young man with a spear was broken all over and it was not easy for him to block the sacrificing punch. He shouted angrily, "Go!" The manipulator finally appeared from the ground, like a spider, and directly grabbed the armorist and the young man with a spear, ready to escape. However, Han Fei sneered again. Children can fight, but adults should think about the consequences before doing anything. Do you think you can leave just because you say so? Chapter 1045. Not far from the entrance of the demon plant's soul realm, the people who had just escaped in and were about to sneak attack were dumbfounded. Is Han Fei so fierce? Yi Feng and his team lost 2 members in the blink of an eye, which was completely beyond their expectations. In the eyes of these people, Han Fei had no chance of winning against these 5 people alone. These 5 people were so strong that they could still escape unscathed after challenging Yang Nanshi, who ranked 5th on the heavenly talent list. However, in the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint, the 2 of them perished. It was fine if others died, but the Yi clan was best at speed. The Yi family had a very small chance of dying. Even if they couldn't beat them, they could still escape. But in that instant, Yi Feng didn't even have time to run and died directly. Run quickly. If you don't fight, Han Fei is not our match. Don't fight him in the soul realm. Han Fei naturally didn't have time to pay attention to those small fries. No matter which family they came from, they might be talented, but talent was relative. Unless they were extremely talented, Han Fei wouldn't refuse them. In the blink of an eye, Han Fei's figure flickered wildly in the void. Another sacrificing punch blasted at the entrance, making it impossible for the remaining 3 to escape. Suddenly, a big turtle shell the size of a hill rose from the armorist's body. The armorist roared, "I'll hold him off. You guys go quickly." As he spoke, the armorist cut off the spider's silk, his soul was burning, and his spiritual beast appeared. A centipede was attached to his body, and his body seemed to be covered with a layer of black armor. At that moment, there was a knife in the armorist's box, crystal clear, and flashing. Explode! In a flash, Han Fei stretched out his hand and flicked his finger, and the infinity water burst out, exploding at the same time as the crystal clear long knife. Boom, boom. However, in the midst of the explosion, Han Fei actually rushed directly to the entrance against the terrifying explosion. Lightning blade. Void chains. When the chains were buckled in front of the entrance, terrifying lightning flashed and suddenly blocked the entrance. Hit by the blast of the explosion, Han Fei grunted and activated the draw technique, which slashed at the 2 of them like a rainbow. As for the armorist, he didn't have Han Fei's terrifying physique, so he could only resist with his turtle shell and his own scales. But at this moment, he was already drenched in blood, his shield shattered and his armor broken. To Han Fei's surprise, this person even blocked the explosion of the infinity water. It seemed that he was indeed very strong. However, Han Fei ignored him. His goal was not to let a single one of them go. At this moment, the spear-wielding young man seemed to have unleashed his strongest move as well. That spear light was terrifying. The spear-wielding youth said, "Let's go." Hiss, the draw technique tore the spear radiance apart. Invincibility was no joke. Han Fei was at the peak of the hidden fissure realm with the help of the invincible heart. It was not something that could be blocked by secret techniques and fearless attacks. Therefore, the spear-wielding young man was beheaded by Han Fei and had no hope of survival. However, the young man's act of walking into the trap did not save the manipulator. Under the bombardment of the lightning blade, the manipulator was already seriously injured and was chased by the void chains. At this moment, he could only turn into a spider and crawl into the ground. With a thought from Han Fei, 2 sledgehammers appeared in his hands. Thud, 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 the ground was smashed, making small pits one after another. Ha! Did he run away? Han Fei was a little disappointed. The armorist seemed to want to escape, but the void lines had already been extended. His speed was not fast enough, his physique was not as strong as Han Fei's, and he was seriously injured at this moment. How could he resist Han Fei? Han Fei's figure flashed and appeared beside him, watching the armorist struggling to resist Han Fei's control. Han Fei said leisurely, I have to say that you are really good. However, you chose the wrong target. Remember, don't be born in this big family in your next life. Puff. A perfect combination. Except for the manipulator, the other four were killed, which made the scalp of those who were going to hunt Han Fei go numb, and they fled directly to the depths of the demon plant soul realm. Han Fei wasn't affected by the fact that he killed a few heavenly talents. For him, this was something he was used to. When he was at sea, he didn't do anything unintentionally. This group of people hadn't met people like Yu Shire and Ning Jingyao. If they had fought with these guys, they wouldn't have chosen to underestimate him. After one failure, they still dared to kill him. During this period, they seemed to be about to succeed several times. However, the slightest mistake could lead to a huge error. In a battle of life and death, the slightest mistake could never be made. At this moment, Han Fei fixed his eyes. The so-called demon plant soul realm was about 1,000 meters away from here. However, in the explosion just now, some spiritual plants had been destroyed. But at this moment, Han Fei saw many vines stretching out from the ground, and strange spiral-shaped flowers drilled out of the ground. Since it was a place where people could easily die, and people often died here, Han Fei naturally wouldn't underestimate it. Since there were stone tablets standing outside with 100 people on the list, this demon plant soul realm would naturally be more difficult as he advanced. Han Fei walked into the forest without hesitation. Less than 100 meters into the forest, Han Fei saw a jujube tree, on which hung small green fruits the size of fingernails. He didn't know if it was because he was in the soul realm, but the demon purification pot didn't see the information of this tree. As Han Fei took a few more steps forward, suddenly, the branches swung, and the green jujubes shot at Han Fei like bullets. Han Fei stretched out his hand, caught a green jujube, stepped on it, and the coiled turtle array appeared. Clang, 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 the green jujubes shattered on the coiled turtle array, and the green jujube caught by Han Fei's fingers exploded with a bang. The power was equivalent to that of an iron ball, and the power was only about that of an intermediate hanging fisher, and it seemed to have a little soul-shaking power. However, this kind of power was almost nothing to Han Fei. Han Fei stepped on it and quickly rushed into the forest. Since the demon plants ahead were very weak, Han Fei naturally wasn't in the mood to stay. Since someone had already passed through the 7 great soul realms, dawdling here would only be a waste of time. On the way Han Fei ran wildly, vines smashed at him like hammers, broad leaves flew at him, and sisal-like plants shot sword-like leaves at Han Fei. Its power had reached the power of a junior hidden fisher. Huh? Is there something in the grass? Han Fei saw that there were green fruits in the sisal bush. Han Fei stretched out one hand, smashed the sisal with a slap, and directly grabbed the soul fruit. At this moment, information appeared in Han Fei's eyes. However, this information was just an introduction to low-level soul fruits. I can see the soul fruit, but I can't see normal plants. Does this mean only the fruit is real, and these demon plants are actually just an illusion? Han Fei saw that the sisal that had been smashed by him stood up again. The sword leaves that looked like buds were growing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Interesting. The recovery speed is amazing, indicating that this demon plant soul realm has an extremely strong recovery ability. Han Fei waited until the sisal grew back, and the sword leaves were ready to move, but the low-level soul fruit inside didn't grow up. It seems that it will take time for the soul fruit to grow back. When the sisal was about to mature, Han Fei had already continued to run into the forest. Outside, Zhang Xuanyu disguised himself as a handsome young man and was looking at the stone tablet outside the demon plant soul realm. Ha! Ha! Zhang Mingquan, ranked 81st. Is this the guy from the Zhang family? Wow, there are so many big families here. Just when Zhang Xuanyu wanted to continue to study, he suddenly saw a group of people rushing over. Among these people, there were 3 super beauties, which made Zhang Xuanyu's heart skip a beat. Of course, he naturally knew where he was. The 5 or 6 people in the lead all seemed to be extraordinary. He stared at the girl with 2 braids and 2 big copper hammers in her hands. At this moment, she pointed the hammers at Zhang Xuanyu. What are you looking at? Zhang Xuanyu thought of something. Oh. Nothing, I just heard that there was a big battle here just now. It said that they were from the Thug Academy, so I came to see if their names appeared on this stone tablet. A tall woman in a short skirt, revealing 2 slender and white long legs, sneered. They just went in. How could they leave their names so quickly? Suddenly, a gloomy man said, Qing Yan, let's go. Don't bother with a passerby. However, the long-legged girl suddenly looked at Zhang Xuanyu. Don't you know us? Zhang Xuanyu's heart skipped a beat. Should I know them? These people didn't look weak. It seemed that he was in a bad situation. Zhang Xuanyu grinned and faintly gathered his soul power. Of course I know you. Aren't you my little wife? As soon as he said that, Zhang Xuanyu activated the soul explosion skill and the majestic mystic spell. With a swish, he rushed to the demon plant soul realm. However, Zhang Xuanyu underestimated these people this time. He thought that the soul explosion skill could give him a chance to escape. But in the next second, a giant hammer fell from the sky. The little girl with braids had already jumped into the air and shouted, Want to run? Let's see if you are qualified. Apart from the little girl with braids, the long-legged girl slapped her palm, and thousands of blood-red weird demonic vines directly blocked the entrance. Then, the woman swept across with the hilt of a sword. Zhang Xuanyu was not a fool. She was definitely not teasing him. Sure enough, in the next moment, the void around him was torn apart. Swish! Zhang Xuanyu inserted one end of the long rod into the ground, bent the rod, and found a position for himself. At the same time, 3 identical figures appeared. Even Han Fei couldn't understand the mystery of the triple essence body. The 3 Zhang Zuanya seemed to be the same in strength. He took advantage of the momentum and struck out with the rod, directly poking a big hole in the red demonic vine. Ice Seal. Just when Zhang Xuanyu was about to rush into the demon plant soul realm, the entrance was blocked by a layer of ice wall. Explode! The soul explosion skill was activated again, and the ice wall was shattered. However, a water dragon roared and came over. The Mo family. Zhang Xuanyu turned around and looked solemn. These people were very strong, and he might not be able to defeat them alone. Because their attacks were too fast, so fast that the braided girl's hammer hadn't even landed, and many combat skills had already exploded. Suddenly, 3 vines directly wrapped around Zhang Xuanyu and pulled him away. Deep blue, mist. A white mist suddenly descended, and someone suddenly shouted, Everlasting defense. Clang, the giant hammer fell and the ground exploded. With a bang, the 3 of them were smashed into the entrance of the demon plant soul realm. Outside, the long-legged girl shouted, Amazing spear skills, Zhang Xuanyu. Divine manipulation technique, Luo Xiaobai. That armorist should be Lu Renquang. Chase. Chapter 1046. In the demonic plant soul realm, Zhang Xuanyu and the other 2 were running. Lu Renquang gasped. What's the background of that little girl? What a terrifying power. My infinite defense almost couldn't resist it. Her strength is comparable to Han Fei's. Zhang Xuanyu sighed as he ran wildly. Whatever, she's just a barbarian. But when did you come? Fortunately, you came. Otherwise, I'm afraid I can't beat them. Luo Xiaobai looked forward. It's not impossible. You definitely can't beat them. I've heard the names of at least 3 of them. The girl with the hammer, Yang Nanshi of the Yang family, is said to be born with divine power. In the same realm, her strength is probably comparable to Han Fei's. Among the children of the big clans, Sun Wu of the Sun family. Her spiritual beast is Ice Kiss, which can create an ice domain. You should know the one from the Mo family. It's the family's internal battle skill, Water Dragon Roar, but I don't know which one. Zhang Xuanyu yelled, what about the long legs? She is so beautiful, but why is her heart so vicious? She was the first to find me. I don't know her. Bam! 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 At this moment, a large pile of green dates smashed over. Lu Rinquang roared, stop talking. Something is wrong here. Blue light burst over Luo Xiaobai's hands, but she suddenly stopped and pressed her hands to the ground. For a moment, the whole forest was boiling, and all the spiritual plants within dozens of kilometers almost trembled. Behind them, a large number of vines stretched out, and Luo Xiaobai said coldly, they're coming. Let's go. Han Fei naturally didn't know what happened behind him. Anyway, he was now standing in a pool of water. To be precise, it was more like a swamp, with a depth of no more than 1 meter. But here, there were no other creatures except spiritual plants. In front of Han Fei, this weird, curling forest grew in the water, with a height of no more than 20 meters. However, Han Fei saw a huge vine right in front of him from a distance. The vine was 100 meters high, and its vines were like willows, scattered in all directions. Looking at the destroyed but growing strange trees in front of him, Han Fei sneered. Where can I go? On the way just now, Han Fei was ambushed many times, which should be the work of the manipulator who escaped. He had to admit that this person was indeed strong. Whoosh! Han Fei stepped into the forest. In an instant, the branches were like vines, trying to block Han Fei. Han Fei twisted, jumped, somersaulted, and slid, sprinting among the dense, slippery branches. Swish swish swish. Suddenly, spider threads shot out from the countless cracks. Han Fei clenched his fists with one hand, and the 3 golden wheels revolved around him. The spider silk entanglement failed, and the poisonous mist spurted out again. Han Fei had long been used to drinking poison. Since his soul had entered the ideal palace, the heaven spirit detoxifying insect had not disappeared. Perhaps the soul of the heaven spirit detoxifying insect had also entered. Therefore, these poisons were still ineffective against him. Han Fei sneered as he ran. All 4 of them are dead. Let's see how long you can last. As he spoke, black and white flashed in his eyes, and he vaguely sensed that a group of little spiders were sprinting forward among the vines more than 2,000 meters away. Hey! Got you! Shwa shwa shwa! In the blink of an eye, dozens of figures flashed across the void. Han Fei roared, Supreme Yin-Yang Wheel. Buzz! The yin-yang pattern appeared, and all the entangling branches were shattered. The group of little spiders was rushing frantically. She was frightened that Han Fei came so fast. If she was given a little more time, as long as she entered the depths of the demonic plant soul realm, she could use the power of the demonic plant to deal with Han Fei. However, at the critical moment, the manipulator wanted to drill into the ground again. Law of gravity. Bam! 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 A large number of branches were directly pressed to the ground. A sacrificing punch burst out, and a spider in the water was crushed in the blink of an eye. However, Han Fei saw a figure rushing over a kilometer away. Ha! She even gave up her spiritual beast. Interesting. After half an hour, Han Fei caught up to the giant vine. He saw the manipulator standing under the giant vine at the moment, looking at him coldly. You want to lure me over? Han Fei grinned. Don't look at me with such angry eyes. It's you from the big families who want to kill me. As I said, adults have to think about the consequences before doing things. Do you think a mere demonic plant can stop me? Han Fei walked on the water, and as soon as he walked 100 meters, he saw a demonic vine lashing at him like a whip from the sky. Bam! A golden fist mark blasted out. With a rumble, a ripple appeared in the air, and a large number of vine fragments scattered. What a strong power! It's beyond the power of ordinary peak-level hidden fissures. Han Fei's face was expressionless. The girl opposite was turning around and starting to climb up the giant vine. In the cultivation realm, the higher the level, the more obvious the advantages of manipulators and spirit gatherers were. The characteristic of manipulators was their strong ability to escape. As long as there were plants, their chances of survival were extremely high. And spirit gatherers, Han Fei grabbed with one hand, and the infinity water appeared. The water under his feet boiled and turned into knives. In the face of this kind of demonic plant, the most suitable combat skill was the million knife art. With his current extremely strong spiritual power, the number of knives in the air was increased by thousands. The dream of the million knife art was not impossible. The demonic vine seemed to feel a great crisis. Dozens of vines danced wildly in the air and slapped down crazily. However, this time Han Fei didn't even raise his hand. 10,000 water blades rotated wantonly, and endless knife streams rose up from the bottom to the top like a meat grinder. Han Fei stepped on the water blades, walked in the air, and chased after the manipulator. The latter was still climbing and didn't seem to care about Han Fei's approach. In the sky full of broken vines, Han Fei was less than 100 meters away from the manipulator. The void lines turned into 100 threads, blocking all directions around the manipulator. The latter suddenly turned around and shot out thousands of threads. She leaped into the air and rushed at Han Fei head-on, her whole body dyed with a layer of dark green. Natal poisonous stinger. Han Fei paused, punched through the void, and blew the woman up with the sacrificing punch. However, the red poisonous stinger followed him like a shadow, past the sacrificing punch, and instantly fell on Han Fei's fist. The giant vine collapsed, and Han Fei frowned and looked at his palm, where the cracked red poison was spreading. In his body, the heaven spirit detoxifying insect began to devour the poison crazily. After 5 minutes, Han Fei's whole arm turned red, but the red poison also began to dim. After 5 minutes, Han Fei felt that the heaven spirit detoxifying insect had advanced. Phew! Han Fei let out a sigh of relief. That's good. This meant that it was within the tolerance range of the heaven spirit detoxifying insect. After a full half an hour, the poison in Han Fei's body gradually disappeared. Han Fei felt that the heaven spirit detoxifying insect seemed to have gained weight. Phew! It seems that I can't fight head-on with poisons anymore. If I use this kind of weird poisonous stinger again, the consequences will be unpredictable. The giant vine collapsed, and Han Fei saw 7 or 8 soul fruits scattered on the top of the vine. He reached out and scooped, and information appeared in his eyes. Name: Intermediate Soul Fruit. Introduction: a strange fruit that grows in the void soul realm. Eating it can enhance spiritual power. Level: Intermediate. Equality: a rare effect. The intermediate soul fruit is helpful for soul cultivation and is very useful for hidden fissures. Han Fei turned his hand and put away these soul fruits. However, they were very useful for hidden fissures. He had already become a law enforcer, and his soul barrier had appeared. It was impossible for him to make a breakthrough with this alone. It would be a waste if he ate them. Standing on the broken body of the giant vine, Han Fei saw that there seemed to be a towering mountain in the clouds in the distance, so he continued to move forward. Perhaps because the battle just now was a bit noisy, Han Fei didn't meet anyone anyway. Did the people who entered the demon plant soul realm disperse? Or did he walk in a straight line, so he didn't meet anyone? 3 hours later. After Han Fei cut up a huge rose-like flower, he got the first advanced soul fruit, a soul fruit that was very useful for law enforcers. In front of him, there were 3 high mountains. With the naked eye, he could see that there was a vine on the centermost mountain. The vine was more than 300 meters high, and the vine stretched into the void and disappeared into the clouds. On the left top of the mountain, there was a 9-headed snake grass, which occupied half of the mountain. Its 9 heads were like cobras standing up. On the right top of the mountain, there was also a huge bright red rose, and the stamen in the center of the flower was more than 200 meters high. These 3 plants seemed to be in a tripod, and none of them looked easy to deal with. Han Fei couldn't help but sigh. Sure enough, as expected of the demon plant soul realm. Damn it, it's too big, isn't it? Han Fei immediately judged that the huge rose was surrounded by gorgeous colors and pollen. Was it poisonous? The heaven spirit detoxifying insect hadn't been digested yet, so he ignored it for now. It wouldn't be too late to deal with it after it was digested and absorbed. The giant vine in the center could occupy the main peak and was the largest. In terms of comprehensive strength, it should be the strongest one. So, Han Fei could only look at the 9-headed snake grass. Han Fei didn't know if there would be other demon plants after these 3 huge demon plants. But for now, Han Fei was a little worried. This meant that even the 9-headed snake grass was still a great threat. Suddenly, Han Fei turned his head and found that more than 10 kilometers away, someone was looking at him from a tree. Seeing Han Fei looking over, those people jumped into the forest. Han Fei didn't rush up the mountain. There seemed to be someone around. If there was someone, it seemed more meaningful to catch one and ask him questions than to rush up the mountain. Therefore, Han Fei ran at full speed around the 3 mountains like a flash of light and a shadow. Fuck! He's here. Han Fei heard someone exclaiming, and then he saw people jumping out of the tranquil forest from time to time. Ha! What are all the people doing here? Han Fei found that there seemed to be more people hiding here than he thought. Identifying one, Han Fei rushed at full speed. Chapter 1047. Zhao Dehai felt like he was about to cry. Who the hell is this person? The battle was like thunder, rumbling as it crushed everything in its path, incomparably domineering. It was clearly more than 20 kilometers away from him, but in the blink of an eye, it was less than 2 kilometers away. Zhao Dehai activated his secret technique and ran back desperately, not caring about the demon plants along the way. But before he could run a kilometer, he suddenly realized that there was no one behind him. Are you looking for me? Roar! Brother, please spare my life. I'm just a soul digger. My life is worthless. I'll give you all the soul fruits. Don't kill me. Zhao Dehai turned around and saw Han Fei looking at him with a smile. Han Fei shrugged and said, Don't worry. I'm not interested in people outside the big families. But I have a few questions for you. If you answer me honestly, I won't take your soul fruit. But if I find out you're lying to me, I'll kill you. Zhao Dehai nodded his head repeatedly, I'll answer. I'll tell you everything I know. Han Fei nodded in satisfaction and said, Let me ask you first, why are so many people hiding in front of these 3 mountains? Zhao Dehai said in his heart, Big brother, is this your first time in the demon plant soul realm? Pa! Han Fei slapped him. Who are you calling brother? I'm still a child. Zhao Dehai's mouth twitched. Who are you trying to fool? You call yourself a child? Perhaps it was an old monster that had lived for hundreds of years. But obviously, Zhao Dehai didn't dare to show the slightest dissatisfaction. He hurriedly said, Well, the people who enter the ideal palace are basically hidden fishers. Those whose strength had not reached the peak could only wander around the swamp and pick low-grade soul fruits. Usually, they are guarding their positions, so they are more scattered. Han Fei couldn't help but ask, How long will it take for the soul fruit to grow? Zhao Dehai said, About 3 days. But even so, it was not easy to defend. This was because the humans in the outermost region appeared frequently. Therefore, they usually guarded the soul fruit in groups of 5, and they wouldn't be too far away from each other. This way, if they encountered a robbery, they would be able to provide support immediately. Those who are strong won't even bother with low-grade soul fruits, so they naturally won't make things difficult for us. That's why the outermost perimeter might seem dangerous, but it's actually all danger from the same realm. It's impossible to kill them with brute force, so it's very unlikely for someone to die. Go on. Zhao Dahai swallowed and said, those who can enter the swamp are basically peak-level hidden fishers. Most of these people had some special abilities. But usually, they would guard the soul fruits in groups and never split up. After all, there were not many demon plants that could produce intermediate soul fruits. Once people separate, it's almost impossible to pick it. With this in mind, Han Fei understood. It was no wonder that he hadn't met anyone after entering the swamp. Perhaps they had been scared off by him. After all, he couldn't sense them. What about here? Zhao Dahai said, we're mainly waiting here. What are we waiting for? Zhao Dahai looked back at the mountain peak and said, we're waiting for the spirit fruits of the 3 demon plants. Wait? Han Fei glanced at the mountains and couldn't help but ask, aren't we going to rob them? Zhao Dahai hurriedly said, we can't, this is the center of the monster plant soul realm. The 3 great monster plants were the strongest in the monster plant soul realm. If the heavenly vine was enraged, any random whip would have the combat power of a law enforcer. In the pollen of the heavenly red hibiscus, there are a large number of blood demon insects that can suck souls. Once you enter, you can't protect your soul and will be sucked to death in the blink of an eye. As for the 9-headed snake grass, that thing is like a real creature. There are fine scales on its leaves and they are extremely hard. The 9 snake heads are specialized in devouring souls. Han Fei frowned. So strong? Zhao Dahai nodded. Of course. Take the 9-headed snake grass, for example. Many body-refining powerhouses tried to fight it, but they were all swallowed in the end. Oh, by the way, there are also heavenly talents. Yang Nanshi on the heavenly talent list is the only person known to have killed the 9-headed snake grass alone. Yang Nanshi. Yang Nanshi's information immediately appeared in Han Fei's mind. It seemed that there was indeed such an achievement. 5th on the heavenly talent list. Name, Yang Nanshi. Gender, female. Profession, soul warrior. Realm, advanced law enforcer. Spiritual beast, soil black tortoise. Contractual spiritual beasts, mountain conch, dragon king. Eel weapon, overlord. Hammer. Features, born with divine strength, ranked 1st on the heavenly talent list. 7 soul decree, 23 at the monster plant soul realm, 89 at the undying soul realm, 26 at the blue sea soul realm, 32 at the prehistoric soul realm. Others unknown. Achievement, cleared the 5 great soul realms. He had challenged the top 2 rankers of the proud son of heaven ranking, 5th glimmer, and fled with heavy injuries. His strength was shocking. He had once smashed the 9-headed snake grass in the plant monster soul realm. In the blue sea soul realm, he had killed the raging sea dragon king with 3 hammer strikes. Comments, a genius girl from the Yang family of the 1,000-star city. Born with great strength, she reached 1 wave strength at the age of 15, and 2 wave strength at the age of 18. Secret divine power blessing, the specifics unknown. In the 1,000-star city, the 7 major sects and the big clans could be ranked 1st. Diwo Haiguang had once said that once Yang Nanshi passed through the 6th spirit realm, the 7th spirit realm would be as easy as walking on flat ground. Han Fei touched his nose. It's a bit like Xiang Zuozuo's style, which is also a girl's hammer. But Yang Nanshi was much more powerful than Xiang Zuozuo. Jiang Nanyu, who ranked 1st on the prodigy roll, was one of the top 4 in the spirit realm. Apart from being able to defeat Yang Nanshi in the undying soul realm, I've lost to her in all other realms. Han Fei also glanced at the ranking records of everyone else and was surprised to find that apart from being in the undying soul realm, no one ranked higher than Yang Nanshi. Yes. She's a tough one. Han Fei continued, then what do you mean by waiting for the soul fruit? Zhao Dahai said, the 3 demonic plants will spit soul fruits from time to time. These soul fruits are all advanced soul fruits. As long as you can come here and wait patiently, the chance of waiting is still very high. Han Fei said in surprise, spit out advanced soul fruits. Is there such a good thing? Zhao Dahai nodded repeatedly. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many people here. After all, it's hard to find a safe place here. Han Fei pondered for a moment. Okay, hand over the soul fruit and you can go. Zhao Dahai. Zhao Dahai was stunned. Didn't you say? You don't want my soul fruit? Han Fei sneered. Because you're too ugly. Zhao Dahai. After taking Zhao Dahai's soul fruit, Zhao Dahai was afraid that Han Fei would go back on his word and kill him. Seeing that Han Fei had no intention of killing him, Zhao Dahai hurriedly ran away. No, I can't stay in the demonic plant soul realm. Where did such a fierce man come from? Zhao Dahai had a bad feeling. This person had never appeared before and his style was very tough and fierce. He was definitely not a good person. According to Han Fei's temperament and expression just now, something big might happen here. In order to avoid hurting himself, he'd better go to the Blue Sea Soul Realm first. After Zhao Dahai left, Han Fei pondered for a moment and walked directly to the mountain where the nine-headed snake grass was. Zhao Dahai described it very clearly. Yang Nanshi was born with great strength and once hammered the nine-headed snake grass. He shouldn't be worse than Yang Nanshi, right? His current pure strength was a little more than 2 waves. With Devil Change, he could use 16 waves of strength, which was comparable to an intermediate law enforcer. Besides, he could use the law of gravity and the void lines to hold the nine-headed snake grass. Unless the strength of the nine-headed snake grass had already surpassed that of an advanced law enforcer. Otherwise, with speed and strength, he could definitely fight it. Han Fei made up his mind to see what benefits the nine-headed snake grass had. And then to see if there was a chance to break into the heavenly red hibiscus. Han Fei couldn't help thinking, if only Lu Rinquang was here. In terms of the ability to eat insects, no one would dare to say that they were the best. As soon as he activated the sky-swallowing technique and infinite defense, the blood demon insects wouldn't even be qualified to meet Lu Rinquang. They probably wouldn't even be qualified to meet Lu Rinquang. Thinking of this, Han Fei made up his mind. At most, he could kill the nine-headed snake grass, then go back and find Lu Rinquang. Anyway, he had to kill the demonic plant soul realm first. In front of the mountain on the left. When Han Fei stood at the foot of the mountain, many people secretly exclaimed, "Is this person going to climb the mountain?" Someone secretly cursed, "Is this person crazy?" Fortunately, he didn't climb to the highest peak, or he would have to run away. Someone's eyes lit up. This is a fierce man. He came all the way here and now wants to kill the nine-headed snake grass. He's really bold. A disciple of a big clan who had fled was secretly delighted. Han Fei, you're courting death. If you have the ability, don't stop. You'd better go straight to the heavenly vine. Han Fei could feel some gazes, but he didn't care. Since he was already here, it would be a pity if he didn't climb the mountain. Han Fei climbed the mountain with one step and jumped hundreds of meters. At the moment he climbed the mountain, a hissing sound came from the top of the mountain. The 9 snake heads all looked at Han Fei, as if waiting for Han Fei to go up the mountain so that they could have a good meal. Han Fei stretched out his palm and the infinity water condensed. Han Fei couldn't help murmuring, "This is the treasure of the heavenly desolate city. In this demonic plant soul realm, it's invincible. Please have a bite first." Since he had chosen to climb the mountain, Han Fei no longer hesitated. While running wildly, the sacrificing punch burst out, the infinity water was wrapped in the fist mark, and the void lines were released. Han Fei stretched out his hand and 2 sledgehammers appeared. "Aw! Watch the hammers." Second. Asking for votes, end of this chapter. Chapter 1048. Huh. When Han Fei stepped on the mountain on the left, the 9 snake heads roared. They seemed to feel that someone had violated their majesty, and the 9 heads spurted out strange blue flames at the same time. Han Fei's face changed slightly. Do they have to be so powerful at the beginning? This kind of flame gave Han Fei a strong sense of crisis. It seemed that this was a kind of flame that could burn the soul. At this moment, the whole mountain was swept by this blue flame. At this moment, the ordinary demonic plants on the mountain were directly sprayed out by this terrifying blue flame, withered and burned. Han Fei stomped his feet, and a pale yellow array appeared. This was the soul-driving array he learned from the Book of the Ocean. In the Book of the Ocean, this was not a profound array. In contrast, in terms of soul defense, it might be equivalent to the coiled turtle array's defense against physical attacks. Crack. After only 2 seconds, Han Fei saw cracks appearing on the soul-driving array. Han Fei's eyelids twitched. It's really strong. However, Han Fei was accumulating power and activating the devil change, and the sacrificing punch suddenly penetrated half of the mountain at the moment the soul-driving array broke, hitting the roots of the 9-headed snake grass. In Han Fei's view, the difference between plants and humans was that it was extremely difficult for them to move. Especially huge demonic plants like the 9-headed snake grass, which occupied half of the mountain. How could it run away with such a huge body? Besides, along with the sacrificing punch, Han Fei also released his void lines. Han Fei didn't believe that such a behemoth didn't have a soul. As for Han Fei himself, he was covered by blue flames in an instant. For a moment, Han Fei felt as if his whole body was being pricked by needles. In his mind, energy was constantly hitting him. However, that power couldn't shake Han Fei's soul. Phew! That scared me. I thought it was very powerful. Han Fei couldn't help but secretly let out a sigh of relief. This spiritual impact probably already had the power of a junior law enforcer. Its power was comparable to an ordinary soul explosion. If ordinary people went up the mountain, it would be extremely difficult for them to resist the sweep of the flames this time. Han Fei raised his head, only to see that on the top of the mountain, the 9 big heads seemed to be very smart and realized Han Fei's idea. This human seemed to want to severely injure them by destroying their roots. At this moment, the 9 heads gathered together and revealed the dark red forehead on top of their heads. Together, they pushed against the sacrificing punch. Rumble, the terrifying explosion swept across dozens of miles. Even the heavenly vine and heavenly red hibiscus next door couldn't help but tremble slightly. Amidst the clouds, a void vine swept past like a dragon flying in the sky. Outside the mountain, dozens of people suddenly jumped out from their hiding places. Someone shouted, "Quickly retreat, the god-burning flame is coming." Someone fled frantically, shouting as he ran, "Be careful of the heavenly vines." Pa! As he spoke, a vine that was thousands of meters long slammed into the demon plant forest like a whip from the sky, creating a pit that was more than 2,000 meters long in the dense forest. However, the heavenly vine did not attack the 9-headed snake grass. At this moment, Han Fei's heart was surging. The sacrificing punch was actually blocked. The combined strength of the 9 snake heads had blocked his sacrificing punch. However, Han Fei didn't panic as he mobilized the void lines. The void lines also clasped his soul, and 100 lines clasped all the 9 snake heads. However, Han Fei's face suddenly changed, because he was shocked to find that these 9 snake heads were not one, but more like 9 independent creatures. Therefore, it was almost impossible for Han Fei to control 9 law enforcers at the same time. This was not simply a matter of who was stronger or weaker, but Han Fei's control was too scattered. With Han Fei's current realm, it was impossible for him to complete this level of control. Almost immediately, Han Fei felt the counterattack from his soul. After a confrontation of souls, Han Fei felt that he suffered a backlash and a mouthful of blood gushed out. Han Fei thought to himself, in a place like the ideal palace, since everyone is a soul, then the so-called blood must be transformed from a soul, right? How could he spit out his own soul? So, Han Fei forcibly swallowed this mouthful of blood back. The void lines retracted and clasped all of them to one of the snake heads. At this moment, Han Fei unfolded the phantom glass wings, and 2 copper hammers flew across the sky, turning into a 100-meter-long hammer shadow, accompanied by the law of gravity. Han Fei's hammer strike came again. Even a senior law enforcer could hammer him. The 9-headed snake grass seemed to hate those who held hammers. Except for one snake-head thief, which shook frantically, trying to break free from the void lines. The other 8 snake heads opened their big mouths one by one and swallowed Han Fei. Although they were snake heads, in fact, they were a kind of plant after all, and they had no teeth. On the other hand, there was a golden arc around his mouth, which looked like thick lips. Han Fei could even see the esophagus inside the snake head through the big mouth, which was a mass of black mucus. "You're just a blade of grass. Don't you think I can hammer you to death?" Clang, clang, clang. In the air, Han Fei's figure flickered crazily. 1 against 8, he hammered the snake heads crazily. In the distance, someone had just dodged the sudden stings of the tree demon. At this moment, seeing this scene, he couldn't help but click his tongue. Is this a powerhouse with innate divine power like Yang Nanshi? Is it the Yang family again? There were also a few children from the big clans, their faces ugly, and at the same time, they were panic-stricken. Han Fei was so strong that his strength was comparable to Yang Nanshi's. Could it be that innate divine strength was so worthless now? Someone gritted his teeth. While Han Fei is attacking the mountain, let's go out and inform everyone to surround him outside the Soul Realm. In the swamp of the demonic plant Soul Realm, Luo Xiaobai's pupils turned white. While flying back, she controlled the spiritual plants to attack back like a storm. However, 3 water dragons rose up and chased behind the 3 of them. In the void, there were occasional flashes. However, whenever this happened, Lu Renkuang would use the sky-swallowing technique to forcibly block the hunters hiding in the void shadows. And Yang Nanshi, with her braided hair, was running wildly on the water. She didn't refuse any of the attacks, and with her super-strong physique, she directly took all of Luo Xiaobai's attacks. Grand Spirit Summoning Technique. For a time, white mist appeared, and dozens of kinds of flowers and plants bloomed in the void. Poisons, mucus, illusions, and hypnotic gas gushed out. There were even blue vines entangling them. And behind them, the long-legged woman shouted, "When the Dragon King is angry, the Buddha's hand will attack 3,000 times." A massive number of enchanting red Buddha's hand tentacles kept extending from Luo Xiaobai and the others, making them seem to be running in a sea of red tentacles. Luo Xiaobai shouted, "Soul Snatch." In the blink of an eye, a large number of Buddha's hand tentacles were controlled by Luo Xiaobai, and the 2 sides continued to fight. Behind her, the long-legged woman shouted, "Luo Xiaobai, how big a wave do you think you can make by yourself? Even if your brother is here, he is no match for me, let alone you." Zhang Xuanyu shouted in a low voice, "I'll stop these guys." However, before Zhang Xuanyu said anything, he suddenly saw a blazing orange light burst out of Lu Renkuang's body. He activated the violent war body and the majestic mystic spell at the same time. Deep blue roar. Roar. A big void hole with a width of 100 meters appeared. In just an instant, the hunters of the Sun family in the void frantically jumped back. The 3 water dragons collapsed in an instant, and the thousands of Buddha's hand tentacles were straightened. Lu Renkuang held 2 knives with both hands, and a demonic red figure appeared behind him. The true martial devil knife slashed out 2 void gaps. Lu Renkuang shouted in a low voice, "Let's go first. Anyway, you won't have any memories after we go out. Then I'll show you what legend is. Take this." Yang Nanshi, who had braided hair, didn't care at all. While the others retreated, she moved forward and smashed the sledgehammer in her hand at Lu Renkuang like a wheel of wind and fire. Thud! The phantom of a big turtle hundreds of meters long appeared. Yang Nanshi was directly sent flying, and the big turtle was also smashed away by the hammer. Lu Renkuang rolled for 1,000 meters in the swamp like a big ball, and all the spiritual plants along the way were shattered. However, the big ball rolled one round and rolled back, directly crashing into the group of people. Zhang Xuanyu roared, "Fatty, rush in. What are you going to do?" Thud! He collided head-on with Yang Nanshi again, and everything within 1,000 meters was crushed to the ground. Lu Renhuang rolled and chased after Zhang Xuanyu. Behind him, Yang Nanshi stretched her wrists and neck. What a strong anti-shock force. He's fine after taking 2 hits from me. I'm afraid that the fatty really has a legendary contractual spiritual beast that's even stronger than my soil black tortoise. On the top of the mountain, Han Fei's arm was numb. After a long time, he finally smashed a head. As a result, a lot of black mucus spurted out of the head. The slime was actually trying to regrow a snake's head. Bah, you win if you can regrow a snake head. At this moment, the snakehead controlled by Han Fei was biting the other snakehead. The sledgehammer in Han Fei's hand had been replaced by Snowmorn. He used the draw technique and slashed at the roots of the 9-headed snake grass. As soon as the sword was drawn, the 6 heads opened their big mouths and bit at Han Fei. When the sword was drawn, Han Fei was swallowed into the mouth of a snake head. Bam! The infinity water directly blew up the snake head, and Han Fei was covered in black as if he had fallen into ink. When Han Fei took a closer look, he found that the roots had sacrificed a snake head to block the draw technique. However, because of this, 3 snake heads collapsed at this moment. One of the snake heads was controlled by Han Fei and was attacking another one. Only 4 snake heads were left, and they could still fight. Han Fei grinned. Let's see how long you can resist. There is no spiritual energy or energy here. You can have whatever you want. Here, I'm invincible. Chapter 1049. It was only a matter of time before he defeated the 9-headed snake grass. Han Fei found that the 9-headed snake grass was tough, and its tongue was full of soul-corroding black liquid. However, as long as he wrapped himself in an array and blew it up with infinity water, it would be fine. The snakehead he controlled bit the other snakehead and both of them were badly injured. When Han Fei smashed another snakehead, a thin purple-red flower stretched out from the center of the 9-headed snake grass. Han Fei immediately smashed the 2 badly injured snakeheads, let the void lines break away, and clasped the other snakehead. Han Fei, on the other hand, raised his knife and charged at the last pearl grass core flower. The flower bud bloomed at an extremely fast speed, revealing a spherical black hole in the middle that looked like an eye. Fuck! Han Fei's heart suddenly palpitated and he subconsciously flashed out, only to see a laser-like purple-red beam of light instantly penetrating his afterimage. Boom! The power contained in the purple light was so strong that it directly blew up the hill. Damn! What the hell is this? A laser cannon? For a moment, Han Fei's afterimages were all over the sky. The purple laser sprayed everywhere, penetrating Han Fei's afterimages one by one. Han Fei wanted to lead the laser to shoot at the heavenly vines and heavenly red hibiscuses. However, on second thought, these 2 big shots were probably even more powerful than the 9-headed snake grass. Dealing with 3 big shots at the same time. It seemed to be a bit provocative. So, Han Fei gave up this plan. Drawl, Chilla Han Fei avoided the snakehead and the laser and chopped at the central root with his knife, sparks flying out. He chopped the wire with a kitchen knife, leaving sparks and lightning all the way. Many of the thin scales were shattered. Han Fei took the opportunity to stuff the infinity water into the root. Explode! Boom! This time, the 9-headed snake grass really couldn't resist it. After all, it was just a grass, and Han Fei was the kind of guy who could flash infinitely, so it couldn't hit him at all. It was only a matter of time before he won. The moment the rhizome collapsed, the snakehead in front of it immediately withered. Han Fei ignored its snakehead because he found that the glowing fruit blossom had split open and 9 purple soul fruits appeared. Han Fei reached out and grabbed all the 9 soul fruits. He glanced at it and a notification popped up. Name: a premium soul fruit, introduction, a strange fruit that grows in the void soul world. Eating it will give you a chance to break through the mental barrier. Grade: ultra quality, a rare. Effect: the best soul fruit can help break the barrier of the divine soul, but it has no effect on explorers. Seeing this attribute, Han Fei was overjoyed. This is good stuff. In an instant, there were 9 of them. He was just worrying that his psychic energy barrier couldn't be broken. In the end, this was delivered to him. How could he not be happy? While Han Fei was excited, a large stele suddenly appeared in the void. Like a mirror, Han Fei was reflected in it. Then, Han Fei found that his name appeared on this stone tablet. Is this the stele outside the demon soul realm? Han Fei was horrified. He hadn't engraved his name, but it was directly reflected. This stele must be a treasure, right? When Han Fei's name hovered and finally fell to the 39th place, he couldn't help but be stunned. If he remembered correctly, Yang Nanshi should be ranked 23rd. There was a big gap between his ranking and Yang Nanshi's. Yang Nanshi must have gone to another mountain. Suddenly, Han Fei thought of something. Was it because the 9-headed snake grass hadn't been completely killed? There were still 3 snake heads in front of him, one of which was controlled by him. Although it was dispirited, it was not dead yet. The void stele in front of him hadn't disappeared either. Han Fei stretched out his hands and turned them into 2 axes, directly chopping at the snake heads. In the forest, Lu Renkuang, Luo Xiaobai, and the others were running wildly. Just now, Lu Renkuang used the deep blue roar to buy them a lot of time to escape. Because there were no members of the Yi family here, with Luo Xiaobai's strength, Zhang Xuanyu stabbed 2 of them with his spear even though they encountered a group of people from the big families retreating. Trying to stop them from rushing forward? That was almost impossible. At this moment, Lu Renkuang shouted, "What kind of demonic plants are these? Are they getting stronger and stronger? Are they so strong that even Xiaobai can't control them?" Luo Xiaobai had already come back to her senses. "Although I can't control them, I can affect their perception to prevent them from attacking us." Boom! Suddenly, a ripple surged straight at them. Zhang Xuanyu said in surprise, "There is a big battle ahead." They looked at each other. No one else could have such a powerful battle. Luo Xiaobai said, "Han Fei is over there. Let's go." Behind them. Yang Nanshi said in surprise, that Han Fei is climbing the mountain. Chu Qingyan frowned. "Let's go and have a look." Chu Qingyan and the others were defeated by the demon plant soul realm. Although Chu Qingyan was also a manipulator, the gap between a manipulator and a divine manipulator was not small. If they were in the outside world, she was confident that the Luo Xiaobai trio would have been killed by them. But they escaped into the demon plant soul realm. After a moment, when Luo Xiaobai and the others rushed out of the demon plant soul realm, they saw Han Fei waving a huge axe in the sky, chopping off the snake heads. Zhang Xuanyu gasped and said, "What the hell is this? Such a big snake." Luo Xiaobai shook her head. "It's not a snake, it's a demonic plant." Lu Renkuang took a breath. "What a big demonic plant. There are 2 more over there." Han Fei was about to chop off a snake head, when he saw the Luo Xiaobai trio suddenly rushing over. He immediately said with joy, "Come on, I'll let you chop off this head. Maybe you can get a ranking." Zhang Xuanyu roared as he ran, "What ranking? They're coming. Hurry up and finish it." Han Fei's face changed slightly, and he immediately roared. The axe light reached 100 meters and blew up the snake head. At the moment when the snake head exploded, a girl with braids rushed out of the woods with a sledgehammer and happened to see this scene. Chu Qingyan and the others also saw this scene. As soon as they appeared and saw this scene, they couldn't help but be a little shocked. The 9-headed snake grass was dead. They thought that they had come fast enough. Even if Han Fei climbed the mountain, he had just started. However, what they saw was that the 9-headed snake grass was dead. This caused their hearts to sink slightly. The man from the Mo family said in a low voice, as the news said, "This Han Fei is very powerful." Another person said, "Look, the ranking on the void stele is changing." At this time, Han Fei's name directly rose from 39th to 36th, Han Fei was speechless. 3 heads, but 3 ranks. Han Fei was still annoyed, but Yang Nanshi's eyes flickered. When I finished killing the 9-headed snake grass, I was ranked 42nd. This Han Fei is very strong. Han Fei had already landed, and his momentum was at its peak. At this moment, when he saw Chu Qingyan and the others, he immediately narrowed his eyes. Long legs, are you Chu Qingyan? Chu Qingyan narrowed her eyes. Do you know me? At this moment, Han Fei was full of killing intent and he grinned coldly. Third place on the Heavenly Talent list name, Chu Qingyan gender, female profession, soul warrior, manipulator realm, peak level law enforcer spiritual beast, dry leaf starfish contractual spiritual beasts, butterfly star worm, 1000-leaf Buddha hand weapon, shadowless sword features, can devour the vitality of other 7 souls list, 46 in the monster plant soul realm, 75 in the undying soul realm, 83 in the blue sea soul realm, 91 in the prehistoric soul realm, and the rest unknown. Achievements, has passed the 6 soul realms. Once challenged the top 2 on the Heavenly Talent list, 5th Glimmer. Not only was he defeated, but he was also molested. Because of the sudden rise of the 6th soul realm. Comments, Heavenly Talent of the Chu sect in the 1000-star city, outstanding talent, ranked 1st in the Chu sect. Diwu Glimmer once said that once Chu Qingyan passed the 7th soul realm, his strength would be on par with his. Han Fei reported Chu Qingyan's information like a recorder, and the eyes of Zhang Xuanyu, Lu Renquang, and Luo Xiaobai flickered. Luo Xiaobai suddenly said, "No wonder my grand spirit summoning technique was broken so quickly. It turns out that you have the ability to devour life." Chu Qingyan looked at Han Fei coldly. "Han Fei, you killed my brother. Today, you must die." Han Fei grinned. "Who do you think you are? Do you think you're great because you have long legs? If you're so good, why don't you have legs below your neck? How dare you?" Suddenly, next to him, a cold-faced man whipped the ground, as if he was going to fight Han Fei. Han Fei frowned. "Who are you?" Luo Xiaobai answered, "A member of the Mo family." Han Fei couldn't help but sneer. "Are you a Mo fan?" Mo fan said coldly, "It's me." "What are you going to do about it?" Han Fei sneered again. "I thought there were only women in the Mo family. You even gave birth to a boy. You're ranked 8th on the Heavenly Talent list. Are you proud? Believe it or not, I can kill you in minutes." Mo fan's body emitted black gas, and his voice was cold. "Han Fei, you deserve to die." Han Fei twisted his head. "There are many people who want me dead. Who do you think you are?" Yang Nanshi, who looked like a little girl, pointed at Han Fei with a giant hammer. "Let me fight you." Han Fei curled his lips. "You?" Yang Nanshi, ranked 5th on the Heavenly Talent list. "You can fight with Fatty." "Fatty, right?" Lu Renquang's face turned green. "This woman is very strong." Han Fei said with a smile, "I know, but isn't she a peak-level hidden fisher now? Can't you resist her?" Lu Renquang muttered, "I can resist her, but I can't win." Han Fei ignored Lu Renquang and looked at another slim woman next to him. He couldn't help but shake his head. Is there a shortage of men in the big families? Who are you? Sun Wu of the Sun family. Sun Mu is my brother. Han Fei smiled. Oh. In order to deal with the Thug Academy, you are really going all out. 4 of the top 10 heavenly talents are here. Are there any more? Is there a 5th? Chapter 1050. Lu Renquang leaned close to Han Fei and asked, "What is the heavenly talent list?" Han Fei chuckled. "It's the top 10 masters of the 1000-star city in the previous generation, probably the generation in 76 or 78. Wow. Zhang Xuanyu asked, "What's Sun Yu's ranking?" 4th. Lu Renquang frowned. 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 8th? Oh my god, it doesn't seem easy. Han Fei said proudly, "Why not? When we were in the Blue Sea town, didn't we occupy the top 5? Why are we afraid of them?" Mo fan sneered. The Blue Sea Town is not even an island in the Thousand-Star City. Zhang Xuanyu replied, shut up. You're only the 8th. You're not qualified to speak. Mo Fan frowned. I'm the 8th. Why am I not qualified to speak? Han Fei thought for a while. Chu Qingyan's ranking as the 3rd must be the strongest among these people. Sun Wu was a hunter, so the freezing technique and the soul-stabbing technique shouldn't be a threat to him. However, he didn't know how to deal with Luo Xiaobai and Zhang Xuanyu. Anyway, he couldn't let her fight Luo Xiaobai. To some extent, hunters were the nemesis of manipulators. As for Yang Nanshi, Lu Rinquang could definitely deal with her. As for Mo Fan, he was also a hunter, and his spiritual beast was a deep-sea demonic fish. Han Fei had never heard of or seen such a creature, so he had to be careful. Besides, there were a few people behind him. Judging from their attitude, they didn't seem to be the strong masters on the heavenly talent list. They should be other figures from the big clans. But if these people were comparable to the group he had killed before, the consequences would be unpredictable. Chu Qingyan and the others were not in a hurry to take action. They were probably discussing who should deal with who. Han Fei immediately said to Xiaobai, Xiaobai, it's a bit tricky. The focus is not on these 4 people, but on the people behind them. I met a perfect combination before, and they are very strong. There are also 5 behind them. I'm afraid it's also a perfect combination. Luo Xiaobai suggested, if possible, I will deal with that Chu Qingyan. Lu Rinquang will deal with Yang Nanshi. Can you handle 2 hunters by yourself? Okay. Zhang Xuanyu frowned, you want to deal with Chu Qingyan alone? Didn't you say that he can devour lives? Luo Xiaobai said, manipulators are never short of life power. Luo Xiaobai continued, but the other party may not do what we think. If everything went according to plan, Chu Qingyan would probably stall Han Fei, and the 2 hunters would come for me. Han Fei, what's on the mountain behind us? Han Fei said, 2 extremely powerful demon plants. I don't know what's going on with that big vine. However, that flower could emit a mist of pollen. It was said that the pollen was filled with some kind of blood demon insects that could devour souls. Once a person entered, they would not be able to protect their soul and would be sucked to death in the blink of an eye. This is only what I know. It's very likely that the other party has more than one attack method. Recalling the laser spray of the 9-headed snake grass, Han Fei felt a chill. That thing wasn't something that just anyone could block. He was afraid that it would be easy to go up the mountain, but difficult to go down. Luo Xiaobai's heart skipped a beat. If anything happens, Lu Rinquang and I will go to the big vine. You and Zhang Xuanyu will go to the flower. Just when Luo Xiaobai was about to say something, the 3 hunters disappeared. The main reason was that Sun Wu and Mo Fan had disappeared. As for the other person, Han Fei didn't care too much about him. At the moment when these people disappeared, Han Fei directly broke out with all his strength. He fused with his spiritual beast, attached with his contractual spiritual beast, and activated devil change. Han Fei even activated the yin-yang divine eyes. Anyway, they were all in the ideal palace. No one would know or remember if they went out. Lu Rinquang had even used the deep blue roar, so he didn't panic. Little Fatty had also attached to him. In the air, Han Fei's face changed slightly. He found that the 3 hunters were all hiding and were all ready to attack Luo Xiaobai. Han Fei said to her via voice transmission, Xiaobai, I'll try to block the 3 hunters. If it doesn't work, I'll think of another plan. While Han Fei was talking, Yang Nanshi had already rushed over. Her target was not Lu Rinquang, but Han Fei. However, Lu Rinquang roared, activated the Great Sky Swallowing technique, and pressed down with the true martial devil knife. Behind him was a black shadow more than 50 meters tall. It could be seen that Lu Rinquang had exerted his strongest combat power. Lu Rinquang sneered, you pretentious girl, your opponent is me. Fuck off. The sledgehammer swept across the sky, and flames appeared in midair. In front of Lu Renkuang, layers of armor appeared, and the devil knife in his hand was slashed out. On the other side, Zhang Xuanyu took the initiative and pointed at the opponent's manipulator with a momentary time. However, to Han Fei's surprise, Chu Qingyan's target was also Han Fei, which made Han Fei feel a little helpless. Because a large number of purple tentacles had appeared, and Han Fei could clearly feel that there was a kind of power surrounding him, which seemed to want to deprive him of his vitality. However, at this moment, the ring on Han Fei's hand lit up. Huh? Why is the time ring shining again? Han Fei immediately recalled that the disciple of Qian Yining, called Qian Yanchen, used a secret technique of time, so the ring reacted. And now, Chu Qingyan made the time ring shine again. This made Han Fei vaguely feel that his vitality seemed to be being stripped away. Immediately, Han Fei confirmed one thing, that was, Chu Qingyan had both the secret technique of time and the ability to devour life. Han Fei said to Luo Xiaobai via voice transmission, "Xiaobai, Chu Qingyan has a skill that can speed up time. Do you have a way to deal with it?" Luo Xiaobai said decisively, "Yes." Han Fei was immediately relieved, and with a flash, he flew out. The void lines moved with him, and he wouldn't take action until he was 100% sure. Otherwise, once the opponent escaped, the fact that he had a method of soul attack would be exposed. In the future, it would be difficult to kill people outside the soul realm. Han Fei's fist marks smashed through the void and bombarded in 3 directions. Freeze! In an instant, white mist appeared around Han Fei, followed by the water dragons, and directly froze Han Fei in the ice. However, before the two of them attacked Luo Xiaobai, with a bang, the huge ice lump exploded. The sacrificing punch erupted and blasted at Sun Wu. Han Fei flashed back, and the blood-drinking knife in his hand slashed at Mo Fan in the void. As for the other one, Han Fei didn't take it seriously at all. But Mo Fan's back shook, and 6 wings lit up. A bat phantom covered his body, and he flashed in the void and easily dodged it. At this moment, Sun Wu turned into a field of purple sand, and the ice walls and pillars around her actually had a way to deflect the force and actually blocked the sacrificing punch. Besides, Sun Wu turned into sand and swept at Han Fei like a storm. Han Fei didn't see Sun Wu's real body. The purple sand should be the ability of the purple sand eel. However, Han Fei knew about purple sand eels, but he had never heard of their ability to turn into sand. Han Fei immediately shouted, "Keep away!" Swish! 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 The battle didn't have any transitions at all. It immediately became white-hot. Everyone was a genius and extremely confident. Just like when Chu Kuangren came to find Han Fei, his arrogant look shocked many people present. But now, except for those who were here to make up the numbers, the weakest one was the 8th on the prodigy list, so this battle was naturally not easy. Seeing the void trembling on Luo Xiaobai's side, Han Fei flashed over, and the infinite water turned into thousands of knives, directly blocking Mo Fan's way. Heavenly Spirit Weak Water. The purple sand wrapped in something comparable to the desolation water was poured on Han Fei. It was not that he didn't want to dodge, but that this group of people had a clear goal. They planned to kill Luo Xiaobai first. After Luo Xiaobai, the divine manipulator, died, it should be Zhang Xuanyu next. In order to buy time, Zhang Xuanyu couldn't care less at this moment. The triple original body activated, each holding a long stick, and the bloodthirsty mad shark launched 2 soul explosions. By triggering the opponent's chi and blood, combined with the momentary time, one of them had already exploded. But what Han Fei didn't expect was that there was a problem on Lu Renkuang's side. At this moment, Yang Nanshi also had 2 abilities, Rampage and Secret Techniques. Moreover, this girl's mountain-carrying conch contractual spiritual beast was like a small mountain on her back, forcibly sealing the Sky Devourer technique. At this moment, the 2 of them were hammering each other, one with a bell sledgehammer and the other with a magic knife. Both of them were wearing armor, and each attack was accompanied by a roar. However, in terms of strength, Lu Renkuang, who had used the majestic mystic spell, was actually weaker than Yang Nanshi. Han Fei thought to himself, now that this is over, I have to teach them the devil change technique. As for Luo Xiaobai's side, it was really dangerous. Hundreds of spiritual plants appeared, and Luo Xiaobai directly fought with the infinite death substitute technique. Among them, the most useful one was the gray vine in the ancient battlefield, which could barely resist Chu Qingyan's two kinds of power. Han Fei cursed secretly. At this time, only Li Luoluo was missing. As long as this girl was here, he would definitely win. Because Han Fei couldn't let these two hunters bypass and attack Luo Xiaobai. Therefore, the situation was a bit passive. If only he had a clone. However, the afterimage was not a clone, and the afterimage could only attack once, so it could only fight with him. Blade of Lightning. Han Fei gritted his teeth and ordered Little Gold to fight. At this moment, Little Gold actually hadn't broken through to level 50, so it hadn't awakened again. Han Fei asked Little Gold to deal with the hunter who was just a bystander. Chirp. The golden red knife light swept into the void, and a terrifying electric current bombarded the void and the void exploded. The hunter retreated quickly, his whole body scorched. Chapter 1051. When Little Gold attacked, Chu Qingyan shouted, "Chu Guang, come back." Chu Guang was the hunter who intended to kill Luo Xiaobai. Chu Qingyan could tell that if he didn't come back, he would be killed in less than 10 minutes. At that moment, Chu Qingyan was able to summon a large number of flashing insects while fighting Luo Xiaobai, which went straight to Little Gold. Luo Xiaobai's eyes turned cold, and the blue cannibal flower suddenly burst out from the ground. Chu Qingyan felt that his vitality was fading. Chu Qingyan's eyes narrowed. You can deprive vitality too. Luo Xiaobai responded coldly, sudden stab. Puff. 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 Sharp thorns emerged from the ground one after another, which looked like the thorns of the thousand-year tree demon, forcing Chu Qingyan to focus on the battle. While everyone was fighting fiercely, Han Fei's side was the most difficult, because the two hunters didn't want to fight with him at all and just focused on Luo Xiaobai. If Han Fei hadn't had the phantom glass wings, he might not have been able to defend himself. Agility of wind. Han Fei's speed soared, and the golden fist mark penetrated the purple sand. The corrosive weak water had no effect on his soul. However, layers of ice blocked the way, and Mo Fan's deep-sea demonic fish could flash. Once Han Fei attacked one, the other would be missed. Zhang Xuanyu roared and activated Soul Explosion again, intending to bombard with momentary time. But there was an armorist on the other side, and his shield was broken layer after layer. But this was the ideal palace. As long as the person was alive, he could summon as many shields as he wanted. Although someone was stabbed by him again, that person was a manipulator and had life-saving means. With the return of the hunter, Zhang Xuanyu's triple original body was just enough. One of them restrained the hunter, one of them fought the armorist, and the last one faced a manipulator and a soul warrior. Here, there was no spirit gatherer in this team. Because spirit gatherers were a bit passive in the ideal palace. 99% of the spirit gatherers who would enter the ideal palace were dual professions, and they were soul warriors. Zhang Xuanyu exploded his soul several times in a row and found an opportunity to kill another person. However, this couldn't go on. The opposite team looked similar to the one Han Fei had just encountered. As if in a hurry to help, Zhang Xuanyu roared, and the 3 divine weapons he had created exploded. Then, a long rod appeared in Zhang Xuanyu's hand, and he swung it at the armorist. However, the armorist was also not an ordinary expert. At this moment, he stabbed Zhang Xuanyu with a cone-shaped weapon, as if he wanted to exchange blows with Zhang Xuanyu. Kacha! Puchi! The shield was shattered, and the armorist exploded. The cone-shaped bone sword pierced Zhang Xuanyu's body and pierced through the spiritual pearl protection barrier, causing Zhang Xuanyu to spit out a mouthful of blood. Following that, Zhang Xuanyu twisted his body, and the hunter in the void slashed at his back. Son of a bitch! Zhang Xuanyu retreated rapidly, and his 3 primordial bodies merged as one. His combat power returned to its peak. Zhang Xuanyu roared, Han Fei, is there any way to replenish the soul? Han Fei simply caught an ultra-quality soul fruit with the void lines and threw it over. Hurry up and finish it. Go help the fatty. At that moment, Yang Nanxi's eyes flickered. It's an ultra-quality soul fruit. Shatter it. An old turtle roared and was about to smash the ultra-quality soul fruit. Han Fei turned around, condensed his body, and blasted out 7 or 8 golden fist marks at the old turtle. It was not that Han Fei didn't want to use the sacrificing punch, but that although the sacrificing punch could be used infinitely, it was different from the invincible punch mark, which needed to be prepared. It was not the kind of fist technique that could punch out a few or dozens of punches in an instant. At this moment, what he was fighting for was a critical opportunity. Once he was passive, a detail mistake was very likely to lead to a great defeat. But at that moment, Mo Fan took the opportunity to get rid of Han Fei and flashed out. A strange sound wave suddenly roared, and Luo Xiaobai let out a muffled groan and vomited a mouthful of blood. Chu Qingyan's eyes flashed, and a sword in her hand suddenly shot out, directly tearing the air and piercing Luo Xiaobai. This opportunity was seized by Mo Fan in an instant. It only made Luo Xiaobai pause for a moment. Yes, Luo Xiaobai couldn't use the death substitution technique. In this way, combined with Chu Qingyan's shadowless life-eating sword, he defeated Luo Xiaobai with one blow. Huh! Swish, swish, swish. Han Fei appeared beside Luo Xiaobai only a little later and stuffed an ultra-quality soul fruit directly into Luo Xiaobai's mouth. This was the soul realm. Once something happened to her soul, she could really die at any time. If Luo Xiaobai died, Han Fei was sure that he would definitely kill everyone here. At this moment, seeing Han Fei coming, Mo Fan retreated. And Sun Wu went all out. Water mist rose, trying to freeze Han Fei and Luo Xiaobai together, creating an opportunity for Chu Qingyan. However, Han Fei's eyes were cold. A terrifying power suddenly broke out. Chu Qingyan shouted, "Be careful." Han Fei held Luo Xiaobai with one hand and disappeared. His speed was so fast that no one could understand it. He almost caught up with the speed of the Yi family. Boom! The golden fist mark was hit by Han Fei with the sacrificing punch. At this moment, Han Fei's face was cold like a demon, and a trace of black mist overflowed from his body. Zhang Xuanyu, who had just obtained the ultra-quality soul fruit, immediately regretted it when he saw Luo Xiaobai was seriously injured. But as soon as he saw Han Fei's change, Zhang Xuanyu immediately held back. His eyes were also cold, and he directly nailed the manipulator opposite to him with 3 momentary lights. In the blink of an eye, he rushed to another person. Luo Xiaobai said weakly, "Han Fei." Han Fei's face was dark, and the corners of his mouth curled into an unnatural arc, giving off a bloody smell. Han Fei suddenly said, "It seems that I haven't taught the children of the big clans enough. Sun Mu was killed by me. As his elder sister, do you want to avenge him?" Luo Xiaobai intuitively felt that Han Fei seemed to have changed into a different person at this moment. Yes, Han Fei had never wanted to use the Demon King's contract. Although the increase in strength was extremely terrifying, the drawbacks were also great. In the ideal palace, the energy could be imagined. However, there were 2 other drawbacks. One was that it was easy to be possessed, and the other was easy to create mental barriers. This was what Han Fei didn't want to see. But at this moment, Luo Xiaobai was seriously injured. Even if Zhang Xuanyu won, it was too late. Han Fei had been through life and death in this world for so long. How could he not understand this logic? Therefore, at the moment when Luo Xiaobai was injured, he directly chose to use the Demon King's contract. Han Fei said, "Little Gold, Little Fatty, protect Master Xiaobai." Little Fatty left Han Fei's body, and the 2 legendary creatures guarded Luo Xiaobai. How could they be defeated so easily? Sun Wu's eyes were cold at this moment. You finally admit it? Although Cao Qiu said he hated them, he was not the guy who was willing to kill them. Only you and Mu have a deep grudge against each other. Ha ha ha. Han Fei laughed wildly. So what if it's me? Do you want revenge? Why don't you try? Chu Qingyan suddenly attacked Zhang Xuanyu and said, he is stalling for time, waiting for Zhang Xuanyu to recover. As for Zhang Xuanyu, he aimed the soul explosion at the void and blasted Chu Guang with a momentary light. Seeing Chu Qingyan coming at him, he tapped his feet, activated the 3 original body, and dodged. Zhang Xuanyu said, Fei Fei, I'll stall this woman. You kill those 2 first. When Zhang Xuanyu killed the last person, Han Fei's figure had already disappeared. At this moment, as a peak-level hidden fisher, he had more than 20 waves of power, was as fast as Yi Baiyu, and could flash infinitely. How could Sun Wu and Mo Fan deal with him? However, Han Fei's first target was not Sun Wu, but Mo Fan. It was this bastard who created an opportunity for Chu Qingyan to kill him. Therefore, Han Fei's fury was all on Mo Fan at this moment. Swish! Swish! Han Fei disappeared, and when he reappeared, he was only dozens of meters away from Mo Fan. The latter was shocked and hurriedly flashed away. He fused with the ghost demonic fish and added a layer of black armor to his body. However, Snowmorn had already appeared in Han Fei's hand. He slashed the sword through the sky, blocking Mo Fan's way of escape, and punched the void in front of Mo Fan. Mo Fan's 6 wings flapped and he narrowly dodged. But at this moment, Han Fei held a longbow and shot out the 9th arrow of the War Soul Art. 1 arrow. 2 arrows, 3 arrows. Each arrow turned into a flash of light and disappeared in an instant, chasing after Mo Fan. Sun Wu wanted to kill Luo Xiaobai, but seeing Han Fei's weird behavior, he wanted to save Mo Fan. He knew that once Mo Fan died, this battle would return to the original state. The 2 sides would probably fight to a draw. So, Sun Wu summoned 1,000 icicles and blocked Han Fei with layers of ice walls. And she herself, in the void, attacked Han Fei with the soul-piercing technique. Unfortunately, Han Fei's speed was much faster than hers. The soul-piercing technique had just arrived, but it only pierced Han Fei's afterimage, and Han Fei had already appeared 100 meters away. 4 arrows, 5 arrows, 6 arrows, the ice-sealing technique was useless against a guy like Han Fei who focused on force-type attacks. Sun Wu shouted, Mo Fan, retreat. However, Han Fei sneered. Can he retreat? The 9th arrow of the War Soul Art could destroy both the body and the soul. Han Fei couldn't use it in the past, but now he could use it, but this archery technique seemed to have been retired. But for the strong, combat skills were not divided into realms, and the mortal-level combat skills used by law enforcers were also very strong. It was useless for dangling fishers to use king-level combat skills. At this moment, it was no longer a question of whether Mo Fan could retreat or not. Han Fei ignored Sun Wu and only cared about killing Mo Fan, but Sun Wu couldn't even touch the corner of his clothes. Chu Qingyan recognized the reality. Han Fei's speed and strength suddenly increased a lot. He had only seen this kind of feeling from one person. That was Diwu Haiguang. Diwu Haiguang could be said to be the best archer in the 1,000-star city. Her combat skill, lightless arrow, was amazing. Chu Qingyan even felt that Jiang Nanyu might not be Diwu Haiguang's opponent. At this moment, Han Fei's feeling of shooting arrows was very similar to the Diwu Haiguang he knew. At that moment, he knew that Mo Fan was probably going to die. And Sun Wu was good at fighting with mobility, but she was not suitable for fighting body cultivators. If Han Fei was free, Sun Wu would be in danger in an instant. Chu Qingyan even glanced at Luo Xiaobai. She was thinking, can I kill Luo Xiaobai at this time? But what about after killing Luo Xiaobai? If Sun Wu died, the situation would change again. Immediately, Chu Qingyan shouted, Nanqi, go. Sun Wu, retreat, don't fight. Chapter 1052. You want to leave now? Have you asked for my opinion? Hearing that these people wanted to leave, Han Fei didn't want to. Arrows rained down, and the sky was full of arrows. These arrows were not only aimed at Mo Fan, but also at Chu Qingyan, Yang Nanshi, and Sun Wu. However, after Yang Nanshi left the battlefield, she spun, holding the two sledgehammers like a storm. Chu Qingyan and Sun Wu hid in the storm immediately. But Mo Fan couldn't leave. Han Fei was chasing him, and he couldn't flash infinitely like Han Fei. At this moment, he was in danger. If it weren't for the fact that the six-winged contractual spirit beast was entangled with the Mo clan's water dragon roar, it would have been killed long ago. At this moment, Mo Fan roared, "Help me!" Hum. The sacrificing punch hit Yang Nanshi's storm sledgehammers like a dragon. The scene was like a nuclear explosion, and the shock waves spread out for dozens of kilometers. The three of them directly ran dozens of kilometers away with the help of Han Fei's power. Han Fei's eyes were cold. Yang Nanshi was indeed very strong. Even in this state, she could withstand the sacrificing punch. However, Mo Fan was desperate. A flash of light pierced through the void and fell directly on his shoulder. The great sky-swallowing technique swallowed the air, causing him to pause. No! Swish! 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 Bam! 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 Countless arrows exploded, and even though Mo Fan was powerful, he was crushed in an instant. Han Fei glanced at Chu Qingyan and the others who had fled, and his heart was calm. At this moment, he was not in his strongest state. Because there was no concept of spiritual energy here, the concept of the use of spiritual energy was actually not in the most perfect state. Therefore, the bonus power after Han Fei's spiritual energy split couldn't be reflected. Otherwise, the power would be much stronger. Luo Xiaobai didn't choose to recover immediately but shouted, "Han Fei, deactivate the secret technique." Zhang Xuanyu also looked solemn. "Fei, deactivate it quickly." Lu Renquang also shouted. They ran away. "There's no need to fight." Han Fei looked down at them, and then looked back at the heavenly red hibiscus and the heavenly vine. Now he was at his peak, and Luo Xiaobai was injured, so Lu Renquang couldn't get close to the heavenly red hibiscus. A trace of fanaticism appeared in Han Fei's eyes, and he shouted in a low voice, I'll climb the mountain. You help me." Here, apart from Han Fei, Zhang Xuanyu was the only one with the strongest soul power. At this moment, when Zhang Xuanyu heard Han Fei's words, he was shocked. "Now!" Han Fei stepped out and rushed straight at the heavenly red hibiscus. It was so fast that Zhang Xuanyu and the others felt their scalps go numb. Luo Xiaobai's expression changed. "Zhang Xuanyu, his secret technique is very dangerous. We can't let him use it again." Zhang Xuanyu gritted his teeth. "Do I look like I can control him?" "All right." Regardless of whether he could control it or not, he had to try. Zhang Xuanyu ran up the mountain, but a divine soul barrier appeared on the surface of his body. Chu Qingyan and the others who had just run away had ugly expressions on their faces. As they retreated, they would occasionally look back. Finally, Chu Qingyan took a deep breath. Mo Fan probably won't be able to come back. Sun Wu's face was ugly. Something was wrong with Han Fei's technique. His God-sealing and God-suppressing abilities had no effect on him at all. Neither the erosion of the purple sand nor the corrosion of the weak water could shake his soul. He was 100% sure that it was the art of invincibility. Chu Qingyan nodded. "Not only your technique is ineffective, but even my power of time is ineffective on him. This is an extremely dangerous person. Also, the secret technique he is using now is extremely evil and cannot be defeated by force." Yang Nanshi sniffed. "I underestimated them. That fatty is not simple. He actually completely resisted my power. By the way, his contractual spiritual beast should really be a legendary one." The hearts of the three of them sank slightly, and Chu Qingyan said, "Ordinary methods are no longer effective on them. Later, tell those who are not heavenly talents are not allowed to find trouble with these people, especially Han Fei." Outside the demonic plant soul realm, there were many people gathered at this moment. However, these people were discussing because the ranking on the stone tablet had changed. Han Fei's name was directly branded at the 35th place, which was quite shocking. At this moment, someone said, "I witnessed the whole process. Is there anyone who wants to buy intelligence?" Someone sneered. "The ranking has already been ranked. Why would you buy intelligence?" The man said contemptuously, "Do you know who climbed the mountain?" In the crowd, someone responded, "Is there a need to guess? It's none other than those from the Thug Academy." So many people from the big families went in. Someone saw Chu Qingyan, Yang Nanshi, and the others also go in. Even a fool knows what's going on. The person who wanted to sell intelligence was embarrassed and full of helplessness. It seems that everyone knows. At this moment, someone was standing in the crowd, murmuring in his heart, "How can Han Fei and the others be so fast?" And Wang Santai, who had already changed into another person, couldn't help but feel excited. The Thug Academy is really strong. How long has it been since they separated? Has he already been ranked on the stone tablet? This means that he has at least flattened a mountain. I just don't know which one it is. At this moment, someone rushed out of the forest. Seeing so many people, he was shocked at first and then cursed, "Are you all watching the souls here? I have important intelligence. It involves the Thug Academy and the big families. Who wants to buy it?" Wang Santai immediately said with a smile, "Do I need you to tell me this intelligence? We already know it." The man frowned and said in surprise, "You all know that Han Fei cut the 9-headed snake grass." Suddenly, the group of people suddenly realized something. "Oh. So this is the mountain they climbed?" The man said coldly, "The Thug Academy and the big families have already started a war. Some of them will definitely die this time. If you stay here, aren't you afraid that someone will come out later and kill you in anger?" Those people have the visualization fossils in their hands. The crowd was a little moved. However, no one left. Which idiot would use the visualization fossils to attack a passerby? Wasn't that a waste? Several hours later, when Yang Nanshi took the lead and came out with the sledgehammer, someone immediately cried out, and then a group of people ran away. However, at this moment, Wang Santai couldn't help but look back. He only saw Yang Nanshi, Chu Qingyan, and Sun Wu. He couldn't see anyone else. At that time, his heart was agitated. Where did Mo Fan go? In the soul realm. Thousands of knives rolled up like a long dragon, trying to cut off the heavenly red hibiscus. But as it turned out, how could there be such a simple thing in the world? The heavenly red hibiscus was not just a coquettish flower. Han Fei dispersed the pollen and saw the flower that had not fully bloomed high in the sky. The petals stretched, revealing what was in the petals. There were thousands upon thousands of thin stamens and pistils. And the stamen in the center bloomed at the top and began to spew a huge amount of pollen. Where was the pollen? It was clearly a fist-sized red fruit, bright red and beautiful, making people want to take a bite. However, both Han Fei and Zhang Xuanyu changed their faces when they saw the red fruit. Those things swept towards Han Fei and Zhang Xuanyu like missiles. Of course, they were mainly attacking Han Fei, because a soul storm had been set off around Zhang Xuanyu. Countless blood demon insects were collapsing, and Zhang Xuanyu was struggling to walk in the pollen. Han Fei shouted, "Be careful of the stamens." Bam! 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 The fruits were really like nuclear bombs, exploding in the air one after another with dazzling sparks. Han Fei's fist mark rumbled, and Zhang Xuanyu's spear shot out, but the latter roared, "Fei! This flower is a bit fierce. Let's retreat first." Han Fei ignored him. Although this fruit was powerful, he was at his peak at the moment and didn't panic at all. He was still sprinting towards the center of the heavenly red hibiscus. Swish! Swish! At this moment, thousands of transparent veins seemed to appear in the air. Vaguely, Han Fei felt the demon purification pot shake slightly. As soon as Han Fei stepped out of the soul-driving array, he saw transparent veins trying to fall on him. Humph! Control. The moment Han Fei released the void lines, the heavenly red hibiscus gave up on Zhang Xuanyu, and the overwhelming blood demon insects and red fruits rushed towards Han Fei. Han Fei didn't panic. The million knife art formed a blade storm, spinning around him. Huh! Han Fei launched the sacrificing punch at him. Wherever it passed, the red fruits exploded one after another, and the blood demon insects were directly crushed into nothingness. Even so, the sacrificing punch failed to break through the distance of 500 meters. At the foot of the mountain, Luo Rinquang swallowed frantically. Is this a flower? Luo Xiaobai's eyes flickered. Will the blue cannibal flower become such a spiritual plant in the future? Isn't it a bit too strong? They had all seen Han Fei's sacrificing punch. It was so powerful that ordinary heavenly talents couldn't even resist it with a single punch and would be blasted into nothingness. But on this mountain, it was crushed after being blasted for less than 500 meters. Zhang Xuanyu shouted, "Soul explosion, explosion, explosion." 3 consecutive soul explosions were accompanied by a void spear light. A petal of the heavenly red hibiscus fell, not only blocking the soul explosion but also shattering almost at the same time as the void spear light. Zhang Xuanyu almost vomited blood. What kind of perverted demonic plant is this? A single petal can stop me to this extent? Are you looking down on me, old Zhang? Zhang Xuanyu took the opportunity to rush all the way to the middle of the mountain and burst the 3-leaf petal. Finally, the blood demon insect returned. But only a small part of it returned. Because Han Fei was also sprinting, he was a greater threat and faster than Zhang Xuanyu. The heavenly red hibiscus chose to deal with Han Fei, and Han Fei's figure flashed in the sky, leaving countless afterimages. At this moment, a big void hand grabbed at the center of the stamen. Chilla! All of a sudden, 3 leaves blocked in the air. Explode! The petals collapsed, and so did the phantom of the big hand. But after using the infinity water, Han Fei launched another sacrificing punch. The heavenly red hibiscus suddenly emitted a strange fragrance. At that moment, the black mist on Han Fei's body kept rising. The corners of his mouth became sinister, and he let out a low and evil voice. Ha ha ha! Do you think a few petals can stop me? The heavenly red hibiscus didn't know Han Fei's current state. The flower fragrance was supposed to confuse the mind, but the heavenly red hibiscus didn't expect that Han Fei would become more and more violent. At this moment, 2 kinds of luster rose on Han Fei's body. One was a black mist, and the other was a dazzling golden light, like the first light of dawn. The golden light shone on the darkness. However, the golden light failed to break the darkness. Instead, it became even more evil. Some of the void lines were attached to the transparent veins, and some were attached to the petals. A big black hand, spanning 100 meters, grabbed at the heavenly red hibiscus. Even the red fruit couldn't explode, and more than 30 petals were directly crushed. The 4th chapter. Please vote, end of this chapter.